Good evening, partner. Good evening po sa
Ganyan ba pag binata talaga, partner yung tawagan? Parang ini-enjoy mo na yung pagkabinata mo, Brad.
Ayan, bumabanat ka na naman. Bumanat na naman. Oh, kumusta ang araw mo? Oo nga pala,
Busy.
busy? Oh, pang ilang week na?
Patapos na yung first week namin eh.
Yan. So, kumusta pala sa inyo lahat dyan sa Football Life? Magandang gabi po sa inyo. Andito po kami para magatid sa inyo ulit ng kwentong football at kwentong
Kwentong buhay.
yan. So, sa inyo po lahat sa Football Life, magpapasalamat po kami sa inyo. And thank you rin po pala sa sa partner namin na Decathlon Alabang for always supporting Football Life and Nemesis Football Academy. So, ayan. So, para pala sa lahat na nanonood ng Football Life, huwag niyo po kalimutan na i-like, follow ang aming Football Life page. At syempre, pag hindi niyo napanood lahat, yung replay nasa YouTube sa Coach Mike TV, MYK TV at saka Aris TV. Yeah, okay? Tapos wag niyo rin pong kalimutan na i-like and follow yung Football with Decathlon Philippines. Yan. So, i-like niyo po yung page ng Decathlon, Football with Decathlon. Okay? So, yung guest natin ngayon, partner, ay isang coach or tinatawag niyang manager na die hard din sa futsal, partner. No, katulad.
Yes.
So, maririnig natin sa kanya ngayon. Pero for sure, panibagong duguan na naman to, no? Kasi,
Nireserba mo ba yung mga tinatago mong English dyan?
kaya nga
Baka mamaya, paulit-ulit na naman yung
partner,
actually natin.
pinanood ko yung replay, hindi lang pala ako, ikaw din eh. Actually, ayan, so,
Di
yung
bale,
guest,
matalino to. Matalino to, kaya marami tayong matututunan.
yes. So, ipakilala na natin, no? Very short, lang, description ang guest po natin ngayon is a foreign coach or manager. Um, he's a Fair Play for All Foundation Executive Director Partner. Executive Director. Okay? Tapos siya rin yung nagpa-improve dyan sa locality ng Payatas FC. Oh, sa lugar ng Payatas as their manager. Okay? Tapos sa Team Philippines Street Child World Cup, siya din yung tumatayong manager. So, ang pangalan niya is si Roy Moore. Okay? So, yung guest natin nag-aantay na. So, papasukin natin yan. Ready ka na ba, partner, sa English yan? Mukhang ito na naman, yung tissue mo.
Wag na, hayaan mo nang dumaloy.
So, sa lahat ng mga nanonood ng Football Life, don't forget to share yung video natin ngayon. Okay? Tapos mamaya, isa-shoutout namin kayo.
Wala bang commercial?
Wala na.
Papasukin mo na para
Diretso na. Nandyan na siya.
Hi.
Hello, Coach!
Oh!
Hey. Good evening, gents. How are you doing?
Coach Roy, what happened?
Lockdown. Lockdown happened.
What happened to your face?
Lockdown.
From the picture, it's different, but it was a good one.
Are you sure?
Are we sure we're talking to the right person? No, we're just kidding.
Of course, of course. Yeah, it's been what the longest lockdown in the world. So lockdown beard.
Yeah, yeah. So, how are you, Coach, during this pandemic?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of challenges, a lot of problems that have been going on, but the really positive things are seeing our older scholars in Payatas really step up with everything that's going on and get more involved with everything we do at Fair Play, with the tutoring, with the education side of things, with supporting our scholars. Because yeah, everyone's in this together, everyone's struggling right now.
So, how about your family? What's your nationality, Coach? I mean, your country.
I'm British.
Oh, so how are they doing now in England?
Okay, okay. It's not the best there. Politics again is a problem in the UK right now. if you know much about Brexit and all the problems that's caused before the lockdown. They're okay. I mean, it's good that the healthcare system there is so much better. So there's better access to things. There's better access to healthcare. So that's good at least.
Okay, Coach Moore, by the way, I'm Coach Mike, no? We haven't met personally, but
No.
I haven't seen you every time I am in Sevens league, no? Because I used to play there and then I'm just watching games, but we haven't got the chat to talk personally. And there's my partner over there, Coach Iris.
Yes.
Are you ready to bleed your nose with our friend here?
Hello, Roy. How are you?
Hi, good evening. Well, thanks. How are you guys
Yeah.
doing?
You really plan to let your beard and mustache grow?
I don't think anyone plans this. It just happens.
Good for you. You look even better and more masculine.
Wow.
Last time we met, you're so
Very
cute.
feminine.
Coach,
Not sure
Coach,
how I should take that one.
Coach Iris, are you
But
gay?
thank you.
Coach Iris, are you gay? Find him cute?
No problem with that.
No, Roy and I met during the course
Hmm.
futsal course with Coach Vic Hermans.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So for a week, right?
Yeah.
What's was that this year or last year?
Oh God, I think it was last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So nice to meet you again.
Yeah. Nice to see you guys
So
again.
have you been watching or you've seen one episode maybe with Coach Kevin
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Football Life?
yeah. Kevin's a really good guy. Obviously, heavily involved in futsal. We're good friends. He's a really nice, genuine guy. And tuned into a few of them. Obviously, and it's a part-time job to watch everything, but
Yeah.
it's been good to catch some of the episodes.
So what can
Yeah.
you say, Coach Roy, with our what we're doing? I know you don't understand most of our interview because we are just doing it in Tagalog or sometimes English, but
Ganun. Siguro hindi mo alam marunong ako mag-Tagalog.
yun! So,
Oh,
madali.
yes.
Yes, so we're fine.
We're saved.
Yes, we're safe. So I
Pero konti lang
ah,
So, mas maganda para mas maintindihan, siguro English na lang para mas tama.
Yes.
yeah, because
You can
you're
express it more.
yeah, and
Yeah, yeah, I like that excuse.
and
That's
yeah,
good.
and your friends all over of maybe your some of your friends from England will be watching over. Yes.
Hopefully, or everyone switched off after seeing the beard. One of the two.
Okay, maybe you can do the shout out first before we go. Shout out to your friends, your family, your girlfriend, your loved ones.
Really starting on the love side there. So, message beforehand as well for anyone who didn't know. There's a message beforehand there about, oh, we're going into that. Anyway, yeah, it's pleasure. Yeah, it's nice to be here, and it'll be good to chat about football. It's always nice to talk about football. And yeah, big shout out to everyone during the lockdown. Challenging times for everyone, but there are also opportunities. There are also um, ways to get better and to plan for the new normal when it does come back. So good luck, everyone. Hope you're doing well.
Yes.
how about those people in your country? Do you want to greet them like your family?
They're fine. They're okay. I'll say hi properly afterwards. It'll be
All
okay.
right, all right. That's good. How about you, Coach Aris? Do you want to greet our friends all over there in Aris TV?
All right. All right. uh,
But Coach Roy, maybe you get used to us, but we're trying our best to do our communication skills very good.
I appreciate you doing your best with the language as well. It saves my face anyway with the Carabao Tagalog. So that's good.
yeah. Coach Roy, I know we will be discussing more of your projects, more of your what's that? Facebook posts, and well, especially futsal and payatas. But I think it's better that you try to introduce yourself. How come
Mhm.
you're based here in the
Yeah.
Philippines, and why Philippines? Why did you come here? So you start with that, and then we'll be asking you on how you really started to love football or futsal.
Coach,
Brilliant. Yeah.
Coach Aris, are you gonna ask only how he started playing football or about also
Well,
how,
later we'll be going to that
how
topic.
he loved those people around in the Philippines maybe?
Yeah, we'll let him share.
Sounds like people have been doing research. That's dangerous.
Maybe you start on why you chose to come here.
Yeah. So if you, I took the traditional route at college with taking a gap year before starting university, and traveled to a few places. I was here in the Philippines for 3 months, working with an NGO, volunteering. Really enjoyed it, really loved it, and there was so much potential for what could be done. So I always wanted to get into development work, always wanted to get involved in charity work, um, and enjoyed that. And when I graduated from college, I came back to the Philippines again, and was volunteering at the time. Eventually, and gradually, we started and founded Fair Play, more specifically, obviously, in Payatas. Actually, when the ASCAL started to do really well back 2010, the miracle in Hanoi, I hadn't heard about football within the Philippines before that. Obviously, this is a basketball country mostly, right? So when we saw that on TV and some of the kids in the community we were working with, they'd heard about football. It was interesting. It was like, okay, if you guys want to start, I'm English, grew up with football. I've not coached before, but let's try. Let's see how it goes. And so yeah, we started Payatas SC back then, 2011. Um, 70 kids on a basketball using chairs for goals, two footballs. It was an absolute mess. But obviously, thankfully, we've had a lot of great support since then to grow things. And then the education started, and everything else started after that.
Mm. So you mentioned that at first why did you choose to study here? Because I think I know you're enrolled at University of the Philippines.
Yeah, I'm just about to hit my maximum residency at UP, actually. Yeah, I've been enrolled there for quite some time. Yeah, I'm doing my master's degree there in political science. The part of that is wherever I am, I like to study, and it's also it's an easier visa to get a student visa for every 6 months or year than the tourist visa, which is every 2 or 3 months having to renew. So that's part of that. And yeah, it's been good to see the differences in everything.
Oh, okay. Anyway, later we'll be dealing on your school stuff and projects. So, Coach Roy, can you first start when you were a little kid on how you really love playing futsal or football?
Yeah.
So, just a backgrounder so that we get to know you better. Maybe even your players doesn't know how you started, or well,
Mm.
maybe they knew it already, but those who are observing you during tournaments or those who don't know you yet, at least they know how you started. Can you share?
Yeah, sure thing. So, being English, most of us play football. It's our PE class, it's our normal pastime. So, I don't remember a time when we weren't playing football. I don't remember a time where I wasn't playing. And so, you'd be in your school team, you'd be in, it's more clubs there though. So, you're in your local club team, your local community team. And so, I play literally every position. I was a very hyperactive child, so I think I played for about three different teams for football. Played cricket, rugby, basketball as well, badminton, literally everything. If there was a team, I'd be playing.
Oh.
Wow. So, Coach Roy, have you experienced like playing for really a club level?
And well, I said I'd play a lot. I didn't say I played well. So I'd play. I was actually a goalkeeper, and so I was goalkeeper for our schools and for a local club. I guess the best claim to fame, I was in the trials for our, you call it provincial team.
Mhm.
I was in the trials for that, so it's nothing big, it's nothing good, and I was in one of the lower university teams. It's nothing professional. When I was over in the Philippines, when I came here, so I was what 21 when I permanently now here. So I tried to go with UP for a while, but there was a cutoff for UAAP, the age. So I would have hopefully joined the varsity level, but there was an age cutoff. And I once sat on the bench for Laos FC in the second division. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's the major heights of the UFL second division. But it was good fun. I mean, the UFL was a good league, but that was good fun.
Coach Roy, that's around maybe 2013 during that time. Maybe 2013 you played for Laos because I think that's the time Laos was in UFL, right?
Sorry, could you repeat that? It froze for a moment.
Maybe it's 2013 during that time that you played for Laos.
I think somewhere around there. Yeah, I was only there 2 or 3 months. It was nothing long. It was from Payatas. It was a 2 3 hour commute, so it was like 4 6 hours round trip. So it just wasn't sustainable. But it was somewhere around there. Yeah, 2013, 2014. Yeah, I played football all my life, but I wouldn't say I'm obviously professional in any way level.
Uh, eh, Coach Roy, it doesn't matter, you know, even whether you're a professional or not, as long as we're having this passion for football. What you're doing
Yeah,
now for Payatas is really something for actually not what we are maybe for Philippine football, you know, because you're sharing your knowledge, your effort, and you're doing something for Payatas. So, Coach Roy, can we call you coach because I mean you prefer manager because that's
I'll
how.
just please just call me Roy. Yeah, it's that was something that took a long time to get used to here. Is in England we wouldn't really call people coach, and we'd
Yes,
just be
yes, yes.
or attorney this or teacher that. It's just the name. Like our professors at college, we just use the first name. Took a long time to get used to that. With it felt weird for a very long time with coach, and everything else. So please do call me Roy.
So it's better for you to be just called Roy. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So go. All right, Roy, Roy,
Thank you.
Roy. The moment you came in the Philippines, no,
Yeah.
what came into your mind? That's why you decided to help this community in
Mm.
Payatas.
Well, being in England, we'd always see that obviously where you're born often gives you masses of advantages over other people. So being in England, for example, I grew up in a fairly working class family, and my mum and dad did really well they'd played the property ladder well, so they'd do up the house we lived in, would sell it on, and they did very well at that. So if you work really hard, if you study really hard, if you try really hard, you can develop. You can there's chances, there's opportunities. Whereas when we come here, we see that in Payatas, in many communities, no matter how hard you work, there are just no chances, no opportunities. And that's part of where fair play comes from, is that it just wasn't fair. It just wasn't fair in the way that you've got, I'd be working with people who, at 12 years old, they're having to work 12, 16-hour days scavenging in the junk shops and on the trucks. You've got 7-year olds who are starting that work and trying to help the family because there's really no other way that they can do that. And then they go to school and there's 80 or 100 kids in the classroom. The teacher barely knows what they're teaching. It's just impossible. So it was really unfair. And that's the overwhelming sight, is that there's so much potential here. There's so much, there's like when I first came here, everyone obviously receives you really well, and at first everyone's very friendly and very well known to be hospitable for foreigners here and so on. And so there's such a friendliness and openness and a warmth, and at the same time, those opportunities aren't there that so many people deserve. So what we tried to do, therefore, was obviously start something where we could create those opportunities bring a bit more fairness and work with the community, not just saying this is what you should do. They know their experience better than anyone else. So work with them to understand how can we change that at the root cause? How can we solve that problem so that you do have those opportunities? You can advance, you can grow, you can provide for your family.
All right. Actually, Roy, we've been thinking, have you experienced bad moments? Because usually, um, sometimes it really happens if you're
Hmm.
in the Philippines that
Yeah.
people take advantage. Do you have that experience?
Yeah, in a tiny little shack in Payatas for the first few years. The first week we moved into Payatas, we came back from dinner and someone had sawn off half the door. So we come back and literally half the door's been sawn off. Climb inside and they took there was a rice cooker and a stove that they stole that time. Fortunately, that's all they could get. 6 months later, we think it was the same people. They smashed through the window, go in, take. At that time, I was working on my thesis, one of my classes at UP. So my laptop was on the kitchen table, and they took the bag that was nearest to it, which had my passport in it, because I was doing my visa at the same time. So we got home, and my laptop's gone, my passport's gone. Um, Obviously, like, crap, what do I do now, right? Shit, that's not good. By that time, I mean, this is 6 months later, 6 months into living in the community, and by that time we'd hired a local mother to start with the cafe that we were gradually growing, and we were now known in the community. It wasn't the usual thing of a foreigner or a rich person, a rich Filipino comes in, gives out some fast food for the day and goes. There was now a base of trust. There was now okay, they're staying. There's a bit more of a relationship growing by that time. So the people that we were working with, they asked across because it was across from the road from La Mesa Dam. So they asked the security guard if they saw someone suspicious, if they'd seen anything. They said, oh, there was a guy who looked a bit suspicious. He had longer hair, and then they said something as innocuous as that, as something as general as that. And the woman who was working with us, the mother who was with us, she said, "Oh, it's probably this guy." So it turns out it was that guy. So within 24 hours, I had my passport back, and within 48 hours, I had my laptop back. The laptop was already sold on to Evergatesco, the mall along
Oh,
Commonwealth Avenue. So everything had been wiped because obviously when they take stolen goods, they wipe everything and they do all that. So I lost all the research there. But you get your laptop back within 48 hours. It'd been stolen. That's unusual. It was actually one of the parents of one of the kids who was playing. He's a policeman, so he really helped in tracking down everything and helping and sort that out. So it's kind of it's a bit of both, right? At the start, if they don't know you, if they don't trust you, there can be a lot of people trying to take advantage. But when they see you as part of the community, they take care of you, they look after you, they
Yes.
will help. Yeah.
Actually, that's a blessing disguise, right? Because
Hmm.
you were helping the community. That's why this person also help you back. That's how you. Because it's really something that you have to think about. That after you lost something, and then
Hmm.
within 48 hours, it was back. That's
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
It was kind of funny actually. The mother of the guy who stole it, she was like, "Oh, we found your passport along the side of the road. Someone had thrown it. Give us 500 pesos. We'll give it back." It was, one of those. But they went from the area of Payatas we were, so then people get to know each other, and it's like, okay, leave them alone. They're okay. That kind of thing, right? You know how communities here work, so it's yeah, as you say, a sort of there's a silver lining to it. I think is the best way of saying it.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, Roy, because of this incident, this
Hmm.
made you more assertive on dealing with this kind of people. I mean, trying to lift up the community from
Hmm.
this kind of culture, and then trying to change the environment from a negative side into a positive side, by making football a part of their life.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because it also showcases what's good about the culture and the community there. And what a lot of it comes down to is because we started so small. Because when Naomi and I founded Fair Play, we started with zero money. We started with this tiny little shack in Payatas. We were really forced to listen to everyone in the community, and that was a real blessing in hindsight because that made us ensure that we were part of the community. And with that, we can understand why the situation is there. So, okay, so this guy breaks into the house and steals stuff. He's a bad guy, right? If you try to look at things from his side of things, if you work 16 hours a day in Payatas, you might get what, 100 pesos? If if your family has a health emergency, you basically have a choice between I can either let my mom go without medicine, healthcare, costs, the drugs that she needs for her health, or I have to do something like this to try and get the money for that. There's no other opportunity he really had. He's obviously dropped out from school. Over 50% of kids drop out from school. So it's such a systemic problem. It's such a big overall problem. And so understanding the root cause of this, we can look at, okay, this person isn't the problem. What happened to the person and what caused the situation, that's the problem. So if we can deal with this, with sports, with education, with these opportunities, then we can stop that culture and demand a better action. I mean, if you're asking a little child to, you shouldn't steal bread. It's like he's hungry. What else is he going to do? He has no choice. It's you've got to solve that root cause before we can then demand a certain morality on the kids, a certain action on that one. When they have that basic needs, okay, now we can say, yep, this is how you have to do to keep that support.
Yeah. So, partner, I think
Yes.
before we go further, before we discuss more regarding the Payatas thing and then how you establish the community, we will have this game for you. Okay? I know you've heard of our game, the coaching eye. Um, my partner here will explain.
Yes. I'm busy here trying to stop the flow. Uh no, if I may translate it in Tagalog because
Mhm.
most of our viewers are coaches from the provinces,
Uh,
players from the provinces. So I just want to translate and you understand naman Tagalog also but you have difficulty explaining more, right?
that's
But
okay.
yung maganda nung nanakawan si
Partner,
Coach Roy
partner,
when
partner, parang translator na ba ang labas niyan?
no, before I forget
Recap. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because most foreigners when they go to places like Philippines, they
Mm.
always experience this being a victim of
Mm.
theft, being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So what's good with Coach Roy? He's really trying to understand and instead of trying to put a blame on that person or maybe the family,
That's not
he's trying to solve things out. So yung pagiging positive tapos trying to understand, 'di ba?
Mm.
Well, maybe I'm not sure if that's one motivation of yours in trying to really push with your foundation but that's really good thing kung tayo naagrabyado kasi 'di ba papalag tayo or we just get disappointed and go back home or go anywhere or try to be angry or negative so yun yung maganda. So I just wanted to translate. I know you're very fast in speaking, so maybe the viewers couldn't pick that up. But anyway, Coach Roy, before we proceed, we have this game called Coaching Eye. So
Mhm.
that as you do your story, later on we'll be asking you if you know who we chose to be your look alike. So you
Okay.
partner.
we
Partner, before we give the clue, did you observe what Roy is drinking? He has two. I think I saw two, no, two drinks with Roy. One on the
Yeah.
one on the left. I don't know if
One from the right and another
yeah,
from the left.
I don't know if the one on the right is
Are
something.
you not mixing that so it will be perfect
Ah,
mixture?
may coffee dito, may tubig dyan.
Ah,
Ayun.
Kasi nakita ko gaano matagal ang ibang episode. So, nag-prepare ako yung mga merienda, yung drinks, para okay lang
Yan.
I
ang
thought
time.
Yes, yes.
I thought it's beer because 'di ba when it's sitting down it's beer.
Mamaya siguro. Depende gaano matagal to.
Yes. So before
Ah,
we tried to choose one kalookalike, one player or one person, but since we always argue on who looks better with our guest, so we decided to have two. So I'll be giving my own kalookalike of Coach Roy, and then one coming from Coach Mike. So for my clue,
mhm.
it's international former international player, and then the second one is club manager. So that's my first clue.
Okay.
Well,
Oh, that's almost every manager in the world right now.
well, later I'll give a more
Partner,
easier
partner,
clue. So
I think
Coach Mike,
we have to give na lang lahat tapos in the middle part we remind again. So
okay.
I think Roy here can be able to think while we are asking him. But he's also thinking about that kalookalike or resemblance to him. You can,
Okay, well, uh, it's very easy for me because the
no, you just
well, the viewers can just well,
partner.
I think for me that's enough.
Ah, sige,
So
sige.
one international player before. The second one is an active manager now. So Coach Mike, how about your kalookalike?
Okay, this one is also an international
Mhm.
and an actor.
And an actor.
Yes. So,
Won't you
Okay,
be?
the viewers,
so
Coach Roy, the viewers can guess, ah.
yes. So the
So later.
viewers of Football Life, you can take part of this activity, the coaching eye. This look-alike or kahawig of Roy here, Roy Moore, um, will just be maybe some resemblance or kahawig or maybe on the beard side or on his perspective or something like that. No, you can comment on our Football Life page and you can share because later this game we will be giving discounts from Decathlon Alabang. Okay,
Yes.
for the winner of this episode who will be able to guess Coach Aris and Coach Mike's kalookalike or kahawig. All right? So,
Yes. Before we proceed, did you mention Coach Mike the guest on Football Life? So I would like to uh, do a shout out for Coach Roy. So we have here Sims Dalisay. So
Ah,
Tam Villones Mahinay Jr. He said, "Good evening, watching from Capiz, Camp Peralta Football Club, Capiz." So another one, Bombet Rosales Aven, saying hi, Coach Aris. Mamia Montaire, hi, Roy Moore. Alvin Perez. So Alvin, Alvin, my former teammate, is the
yeah, the SPWA days.
best defender during our time. Uh, he kicks a long diagonal cross. So next, Coach Dan Padernal. Banat lang, Coach Aris. And my sister, my beautiful sister Ani Pinusan is watching. So I think later we'll do another shout out for our viewers. Coach Roy,
how about here,
and
Coach Mike TV?
Coach Mike TV, meron ba dyan?
Of course, don't forget, here in Coach Mike TV, we have Joel Valencia, your big fan
Hmm.
here. Okay, Joel
Nice
Valencia.
catch on.
Yeah. So, Coach David Bayarong from Olongapo is watching. Good evening, mga sirs. And of course, Ake Pastoral. Good evening, Roy. Kumusta mga bata sa Payatas? So, what are the activities? Yeah. So, and then Ava Africa is watching also. Nice one, Roy. And Tom Mahinay. Good evening, watching from Capiz. No? Peralta Football Club, Capiz Incorporated. Fernando Rico, Bombet, Aven. Hello, Coach. Alvin Perez, Roy Moore.
Ayun, na-mention ko na yung mga yan.
Yun. And then, ayan, the rest were
Yes.
mentioned already.
So, just to give a short sa viewers natin itong si Coach Roy, very active siya sa foundation niya sa pagtulong ng mga bata talaga. So let's try to listen. You can ask questions, or kung pwede puntahan niyo yung Facebook page niya, ang dami niyang ideas doon. So we'll try to really learn from him, paano siya nagsimula, paano niya ginawa yon, and saan yung hugot niya. So Coach Roy, maybe you try to give us a backgrounder on your foundation, on why did you put that up, what were your ideas then, and what made it so what do you call this, with a big impact on the community. So Coach Roy.
Okay, well, firstly, good evening to everyone. Thanks for the shout outs and hi, and hope you enjoy the episode in the show. I said a little earlier about how things started, so siguro try ako sa Tagalog
Yan.
para sa pangalawang beses, try ko sa Tagalog. All right, and so pumunta ko dito noon 2010 para mag-volunteer ulit sa isang foundation, isang org. So ang expect ko talaga is nasa development ako, nasa charity ako, yung education part, yung mentoring part, yung mga ganon. Hindi ako na-expect na part ng sports. At saka kahit na yun, we're known for sports, pero ang focus talaga namin is yung buong development ng isang bata. Yung development niya, hindi lang sa court, pero syempre off the field as well. So noong 2010, pag sikat ang Astros sa Suzuki Cup, I think semifinals, right? The first time, yung unang beses napasok sa semifinals, the Miracle in Hanoi, beating Vietnam, beating Singapore. Alam ng bata about sa football. Konting alam nila about sa football, nakita nila sa balita, sa news, about yung gano'n. So sige, sinabi ko sa kanila, sige, kung gusto mo matutunan, try ako magtuturo. Hindi ako nag-coach dati. Yun ang unang beses na nag-coach ko. So natutunan kaming dalawa. Sila sa laro, ako sa coaching part. We learned together over time. And then pumunta si Naomi noon 2011. She came in later that year in 2011 again. Simulan namin yung drop-in center sa Payatas. Doon simulan na yung mga scholarships. Yung ibang parts, natutunan namin sa komunidad about ano talaga ang problema. So tulad sinabi namin kanina about ano talaga ang root cause ng problema. Siyempre, may mga pasuway, may mga nagnakaw, or may mga galit, yung mga ganoon. Pero bakit? Ano talaga ang root cause ng problema? Bakit maraming nag-drop sa school? Ang problema ay kulang ang pera nila sa pamilya, or pangit talaga ang sistema sa school nila. Kung 100 ang mga bata sa isang classroom, mahirapan talaga ang teacher na rin. So ano talaga ang root cause? So that's where we try to solve the problem for the family. Kasi parang walang one size fits all. Hindi pwede yung same solution para sa lahat. It's mas flexible ang kailangan natin dyan. So sports was a really, really good part because una, ako lang ang mag-coach dati, pero nag-coach ako yung older kids natin para sila din mag-coach. Meron kaming sariling coaching courses para bagay ang coaching sa komunidad nito. Kasama yung anong bagay sa komunidad natin, para mag-coach sila yung mga bata, para hindi kailangan nila mga lakal na, pwede silang mag-coach. Siyempre, kasama yan sa school nila, so mas magandang opportunity. Kailangan nila talaga yung pera para sa pamilya. So, kung may mas positive, kung may mas magandang paraan, syempre, yun ang gusto natin gawin.
At
Ano?
Wow.
that was the idea, no, Roy, when formulating this concept with
Mm.
Payatas. It's really something that I think coaches or a community can learn from, right? Siguro the challenges will be, of course, the budget. Yeah,
Mhm.
the budget or how we will try to run the football program. But maganda rin yung binigay mo na idea na you are trying to get something out of the players as well, no, for them to earn, 'di ba?
Mm.
Like the program na ganyan. Partner, okay yung idea ni ano no ni Roy pagdating doon sa mga bata na tinuturuan niya and then eventually madadagdagan siya ng mga coaches.
Yung Coach Roy, you mentioned kasi Coach Mike regarding budget. So, where do you get your fund? Are you
Mm.
like the other foundations? They partner with companies abroad, right? And
Mm.
when the company goes away, the program
Yeah.
stops. So, how about you? How about your foundation?
Yeah, that's very true. The budget is probably the hardest part of any foundation, right? On a sustainable basis. Medyo swerte tayo sa dyan kasi ang daming foundations dito, galing abroad ang pera nila, galing abroad ang budget nila. So tama ka, kung tulad sa COVID na yun, kung may problema, biglang wala. So tigil ang operations, tigil ang ganun. We've been very lucky to meet some people who really want to help within the Philippines. Right now, our biggest supporter financially would be Nivea through Buyer's So yung CSR nila rin. They've been a really big supporter. They really care about the projects we do. Um, they really care about the impact we make. So they've been really positive as a supporter of not just Payatas SC and particularly our women's team, but also with our education. They really want to see the long-term difference that things can make. So I think, if I remember right, about 2/3 of our budget currently comes from within the Philippines, whether it's a group like Nivea in their office within Manila or grants and individuals and families from the Philippines. And then others are other individual sponsors throughout the world, actually, quite globally. We are looking at ways after the lockdown that we can be far more sustainable with what we do. So we will soon be ready to announce, for example, the Payatas SC Supporters Club, where people will be able to join. They'll be able to hear about what we're doing. They'll get a T-shirt, a Payatas SC T-shirt, the certificate, and like professional clubs, like those behind you have those memorabilia and the merchandise from the clubs. And so we'll be announcing that soon, which would be really nice. And build ways to be sustainable with how we do this. So our rooftop over our futsal court will be ready this year, and we'll be having open futsal sessions. Our Fair Play Cafe on the weekends has buffets, all you can eat buffets. So you guys will be able to join in and
Wow.
all you can eat buffet sa weekend sa amin. And then
Part-
that helps provide for the school lunches for the kids during the week. So it's a win-win.
Partner, I think we will be invited to be on that
Yes.
Absolutely.
Especially Coach Mike, you bring him to that buffet. I
yeah.
think he needs to eat more, huh?
Oh, I don't know. I put on it. It's been lockdown pounds. There's a few extra kilos
Roy,
around now.
Roy, there's somebody commenting here, no? They said, ang galing-galing mo palang magtagalog, no?
Salamat.
Sabi ni Ma'am Rochelle Baclagan, ang galing-galing magtagalog, pati ni Sam Ilagan, Joe Popey, and Orvet. No? Ang galing mo palang magtagalog, sabi. So, I think
Yes.
you can do Taglish, no? You can do both.
Sige, sige.
You're even better than the other Filipinos, huh? Who doesn't speak Tagalog.
But, yeah. So, syempre,
But
kung
for
doon ka
you,
sa Payatas, walang marunong mag-English. So, kung gusto mo
uh,
magiging bahagi or part sa
Sige,
pamilya
sige.
doon, you need to speak
yes.
Siguro
English.
we will deal on that first partner no, before we go to the next one. I think maybe how, of course, this is something that we all, that's the same with us if we are going to a foreign country.
Mm,
If
yeah.
I want to learn a word,
Mhm.
it will be the bad thing. Is it the same with you also?
Oh, of course, yeah. The first word you learn, should I say it? No, no.
No, no,
For sure, I could tell you all the bad words that I learned at first. I think one of the funny things was one thing that was really funny recently was that, do you remember when Norwich came up to the Premier League last season, and commentators were having a really hard time in Southeast Asia pronouncing the striker's name? Do you remember the striker's name
striker.
for Norwich last season?
No, no.
Timu, I can't say the next. Anyway, so
Oh,
so maybe you can Google it.
if it's a normal name, if it's a name in the Premier League, maybe you can announce it. There's
Maybe the World Cup players like Umtiti,
Pepe.
like
Yeah, something like that.
Pepe.
Yeah. So there's like a FIFA 11 of yung mga players na
The other
basketball
one is
team.
Suso. The
It
other
was
one is
great.
the other one is Suso, di ba? Suso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. Are we able to change topic now? It's not a topic. We should probably
yeah,
keep going.
your players from Payatas might.
Right. Yeah.
I think Coach Dan Padernal is watching. Maybe he can go to Payatas. He's already staying in a condo with his girlfriend, so he's speaking English. He can go to Payatas and learn Tagalog again. Uh, there's a question before we give out our own questions from
Joel.
Coach Joel
Yeah, Joel.
Valencia. Coach Roy, question: would you happen to have an idea or program on how clubs or players could be protected from being exploited by some schools or coaches with broken promises or inappropriate recruitments? Yes, because some are taking advantage.
Yes.
Actually, he's asking if you have, because you're one of those coaches, one of those foundation managers who are very active and very direct on your articles, right? You do really post ideas that are
Partner,
uh,
maybe we can discuss that later, no? I mean,
yes. So maybe you try to give your answer.
yes.
So what's your idea on this? Some people are really taking advantage. So how could be protected from being exploited by some schools or
Yeah.
coaches?
Yeah, it's a very fair problem to bring up. And hi, Coach Joel. Good to see you again. Talk. Yeah, it's a big problem. I think one of the things that a lot of schools elsewhere do in other countries is they'll always have the contract. They'll always have the agreement. If you're going to the school, you have a signed agreement which clearly shows what promises are there, and it's not just with the coach. Because you're right, there are so many players who try to go there. The coach has promised something to the player, but they never receive it, or they get an injury and suddenly they're taken out of everything. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult problem. Or we've been fortunate in some ways because Payatas is so far to everywhere else. When any coaches have tried to talk to our players, they immediately talk to us because they can't actually go there. And so we're a bit more able to filter and say, no, this person has a really bad reputation. They break their promises and tell the kid they won't do it. Or we can talk directly with a coach who does have a good reputation for following through. So that reputation helps for sure. With a school, it should always be a signed agreement. It should always be on paper. If you've got an agreement, a varsity scholarship, if you've got an agreement with a school, then it's there. But yeah, given how fledgling football is here, there are so many problems with coaches who they'll coach a school and they'll coach a club, and you're not allowed to play for anyone else. You have to play for this club if you're gonna play if you're part of the school. There's a lot of overlap and a lot of politics that goes on, right? The more transparent everything is, with everything being public and in paper with the agreement, the easier it is. But yeah, I'd have to look into that problem a lot more to offer anything a suggestion more than that. Personally, if one of my players has an offer from a school, I want to talk to that coach and make sure we have in writing this is what's promised.
Coach Roy, I think what you said is really an accurate answer when it comes to the contract, no? Because it's the safety and protection of
Mm.
the player,
Yeah.
the parents, and of the coach. Like you are
Yeah.
the ones supervising the kids. But I think partner, Coach Aris, no, maybe we can share also for the persons in the provinces, not only in Payatas. If the parents was approached by a certain coach or manager, I think it's better to research first, no?
Mm.
Get informations outside, maybe check the background of the person because
Yeah.
lately I think there are a lot of persons or recruiters who are also taking advantage of these opportunities,
Mm.
especially if the players are really poor of the
Mm.
poorest. You can just tell them that, oh, you will be receiving like this and like this and like
Yeah.
this, and then this person will be, oh, that was really good. So no, they will be thinking they will get it already, and then
Ikaw
suddenly
ba, Coach Mike, nabigyan na ng contract? Were you given a contract before?
in college, Coach Aris, no, in college.
Or anywhere? Wala, di ba?
No, meron, yes.
So,
Yeah, meron, yes. Some schools there are
Mm.
contracts. Some schools doesn't have contracts. That's why if you engage in a school wherein there is no contract, you should be aware already of the events. I mean,
Yeah. The risk.
anyway, the predicament is anyway, if you don't have a contract, anytime they can slash you out. The same thing if you are a player. If you do not have a contract or if you are not protected, if the school you got what Roy was mentioning, if you got injury, they can easily take you away because you don't have anything you signed. So there's no protection. So I think
yeah,
it's better.
Coach Roy, you mentioned that the more transparent it is, the better, right?
Mm.
So would you think because ikaw sa foundation mo or sa team mo, you already have that contract signing? Are you really letting them, or just maybe giving them a registration or something like that? Well, for me here in the province, my own club, we give them a yearly registration form
Mm.
so that it's also our holding at the
Yeah.
same time for parents to really allow them to train.
Yeah.
But in our national team program, for example, I think that's something that we also need to give. Let's
Partner,
say for me, my personal experience,
Mm.
because my daughter got injured with ACL. And
Mm.
then, although I'm not saying that they're not really doing something, but for how much more for other girls
Yeah.
or players joining in the training pool. Well, universities, they can really just help you once you are under a university.
Mm.
How about clubs? Like, let's say you've been very active in really giving your opinion on global issue, right? We've been talking to Dan Palami, Coach Marjo, because Coach
Marge,
Marjo is the coach there, and one player also, I forgot who's Misa.
Let me say,
Misa Bahadoran is also part of that
mm.
club. So let's say Marjo mentioned that next time when we ask him, next time make sure you read the contract and make sure you really follow that, because he's been volunteering for the remaining months,
yes.
and the struggles were really it's somewhat like a coach in the province. He's
Yeah.
alone with the players, even the players are all complaining. So
Yeah.
coach, can you share some of your uh what's that? Because on your wall you've been mentioning and trying to give your own opinion regarding the global issue.
Yeah, and it's fair to say it's not just global. We all know there's other clubs as well who don't pay their players either one on time or two at all. Or there's coaches who aren't being paid, as you say. One coach there is having to volunteer, but there are other coaches as well who haven't been paid for a long time. I mean, the issue with global now, um, was brought up. I remember Anton Del Rosario shared about how they went paid a couple of years back, and then there are other clubs as well who haven't been paid, and it's a difficult situation because you're looking at the sustainability of the clubs, and there's no way paying what 100,000, 200,000 pesos a month to the top players. There's no way that's sustainable right now with the league. Hindi kaya mo yung mga millions na tuwing buwan sa sistema nito, sa league nito. It's not sustainable. So you're gonna run out of money at some point. Um, so it's a very difficult situation for everyone to decide how do we make this sustainable? How do we make a league that will work in the long run? Not just for this year, not just for this season, but in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, it's really gonna grow Philippine football. Because ano na ang situation natin, tuwing taon, may isang malaking club na makusoy. Yun ang mangyayari every year dahil sa situation nito, dahil sa sistema nito. We know what will happen every single year because that's what happens. So what I care most about is seeing things grow well. And if you do things in the right way, in the long run, it will be so much better. You see how that develops for the future.
Roy,
Yep.
yeah, you mentioned about this repeated
Mm.
mistake, repeated predicament, or the
Yep.
issue of teams getting out of the league. So in your
Yep.
side, I mean,
Mm.
you maybe you have seen how the Premier League works.
Yep.
Yeah? So maybe what in aspect of this that you see that the
Mm.
Philippine Football League can adapt,
Yeah.
which is better for Philippine football
Yeah.
during this moment, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think is best for us? So
Okay. Yeah, it's fair to bring up that. And right now, it would be fair to say, obviously, there's no other country in the world that has such a rich league as the Premier League. So if you try to do the Premier League in another country, it still wouldn't work. Um, the Premier League was founded, what was it, 91, 92, 91, I think. It was the late 80s, early 90s that the Premier League was there. Before that, it was the first division. The only reason they could do that is because it was the number one sport in the country. Kaya natin yung professional league pag yun ang sikat ng sport. Hindi pwede yung professional league pag walang fans. Pag walang bibili ng jerseys, pag walang pupunta sa stadium, pag walang fans, hindi kaya yung professional. It's impossible to sustain that. It's impossible to keep that going. Um, so you see the big clubs here, like Loyola folded. It's a smart financial decision. Is it worth how much money they were putting in it to carry on? Probably not on balance if you're looking at it from a business decision. So it's interesting when people say about we just need to attract the sponsors or attract the money. The sponsors and the money have been here. It's attracting the fans that's the key. It's attracting the people who will play and it's attracting the people who will watch. Because we've had Globe, we've had Smart, we've had ABS-CBN, we've had TV5. Every big company you can really think of has had a look at Philippine football. Siyempre, gusto nila yung what's the next big thing? They're always trying to find that. And they've always got involved. The problem has been that they've not stayed. Hindi sila tuloy kasi siyempre walang manood, walang bibili. Kung ganoon, they don't stay. But they have all tried. So kung kita natin sa ibang mga bansa na successful ang league nila, pag ganito ang stage ng football, we need to accept una, anong stage ng football sa Pilipinas? Sobrang infant industry to. It's a very, very low level. Ilan ang players sa buong bansa? Siguro, we're talking thousands, not millions. Hanggang millions, di kaya ng professional league. So we go back to what the UFL was before. With the UFL, syempre, hindi perfect ang UFL dati. May mga problema, may mga issues dyan. Pero may 22 teams, dalawang divisions, may professional or semi-pro clubs, may amateur clubs na rin. And parang sayang yun talaga, yung mga clubs na tulad sa Nomads, tulad sa Green Archers. Ang kita nila is hindi kaya nila sa Pro League, so nag-drop sila agad. Kasi kita nila already, syempre, alam natin na mangyari, hindi kaya. It's like that. And now we see the problems with what, 5 or 6 clubs in a season. The big thing is, if you look at Japan, Australia, the United States, any country that has developed a working football pyramid, a working football system, always started with about 20 years of work getting kids playing. Parang 20 years na lalagay nila yung mga space para maglaro. Lalagay nila yung mga areas na pwede maglaro ang mga bata, pwedeng develop yung fans. Kasi walang fans, walang pera, walang pros. It's impossible to get to that pro level na sustainably. Siyempre, gusto natin yung 10, 20 teams na pro league, promotion, relegation. We are 20, 30, 40 years away from that being a sustainable reality in the Philippines. But we know from these countries, Australia, Japan, the USA, we know from the countries who have done it, it is possible to grow it and to develop the game if you do it the right way. If you think 10 years ahead and plan for 10 years ahead, if you plan for the right kind of grassroots, tulad na yun, kung bata ka sa isang komunidad, saan ka pwede maglaro ng football? Wala. Walang field, walang futsal court, walang ganun. Hindi ka pwede maglaro. Kung
Roy,
hindi ka pwede maglaro,
Roy.
walang...
So that's why because we've been seeing in the pictures
Yeah,
you form a futsal court.
yeah.
You form this one for the community of Payatas.
Hmm.
So maybe is this something that you really wanted to emphasize? Because there's
Hmm.
no way the kids were able to play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sa 2011, pagsimula kami, nag-try namin sa barangay court. Alam niyo yung mga problema sa barangay, no? Nag-reserve namin yung court sa barangay tuwing Sabado umaga. Napunta kami doon on time, 9 a.m., Saturday morning. Siyempre, may maglaro ng basketball, may
Yes.
ibang event. Isang beses, parang tatlong, apat ng groups ang doon na nasa same schedule. Kahit nagpermahan ng barangay captain, ganoon naman. So there's no place to play. And if you want to develop players, if you want to develop fans, you need the spaces where they can play and play and play and play. I mean, you guys know about like the 10,000 hour rule for experts, but you don't need that much for the kids. You just want to play and play and play. You need their own space in the community to play when they want, to play after school, on the weekends, whenever it is. If you don't have a space to play, you don't have a space to grow the game. So yeah, sorry, with futsal then specifically, it was, if you look at Manila, yung mga problema natin sa Manila is syempre may traffic. Kung gusto mo punta sa 11-a-side field, pagpunta kami sa tournament, parang 2-3 hours pupunta doon, 2-3 hours pagbalik. So hindi kami experts sa laro, experts kami sa traffic.
Ah,
So it's, what you spend your time in is what you will learn. So that's what we have with that. And syempre, hindi pwede, mahal yun. Mahal ang 11-a-side field. And then walang space, walang lupa, nang ganun. Pero yung futsal court, mas bagay yan sa Manila. Siguro sa province may mga fields, depende saan, depende sa situation, depende sa context. Pero maganda rin ang futsal para sa development. I think Miguel Bermundo wrote an article with Rappler, if I remember right, where he cited one study about sa 11-a-side, sa isang game, 90 minutes, isang player, meron siyang bola para sa isang minuto na lang. So para sa isang oras kalate, 1 minute meron siyang bola, 89 minutes wala. Anong ginagawa niya para sa 89 minutes? Takbo. So, anong matutunan siya? Takbo. Hindi
Yes,
laro.
yes.
track
Well,
and
yeah,
track and field.
yeah. Which is good. That's good exercise. Fine, that's nice. Pero kung gusto mo matutunan football, kung gusto mo mag-improve yung skills, syempre yung mga touches. So
Yes.
that's why yung pinakamagaling ng mga bansa normally, kasi futsal, kasi street soccer, kasi may mas maliit ng versions.
Yes, yes.
Sa nakaraan ng World Cup, 2018 World Cup sa France, France had 50 players in the World Cup. Kasi may mga players doon, galing sa Paris especially, na may mga magulang na nasa Cameroon or Ivory Coast or yung mga ganun ng players na natutunan nila yung concrete football. May magandang documentary sa Netflix, Concrete Football, I think it's called.
Roy, actually, if you heard of one of our
Actually,
interview, no, last time we had with Christina Ramos,
Mm,
the daughter of our president, former president. She mentioned regarding that the best thing to develop football in our country is really futsal
mm,
because of the futsal court of the basketball courts that we have because
yeah.
we are a basketball country. just converting it into a futsal, and then
Yeah.
beach football as well, because we have so many beaches. I mean, we can develop our skills in,
Hmm.
in the game. And then of course, the other one is Kevin, 'di ba? The one in charge in
Yep.
Di
PH.
ba? Oh.
So Kevin also mentioned that.
Actually, actually, ako rin ang nagpupush, di ba?
Yes.
Coach Roy, I would like to go back on the 20 years development program for kids that you mentioned.
Hmm.
It's really something that we have to push, and we really have to convince our Filipino leaders and make them
Yeah.
understand why we wanted futsal
Yeah.
to grow, futsal to be used in our program.
Hmm.
Because even Sir Dan Palami, when we had our interview, uh, I'm sorry, but I tried really to push futsal or to present futsal, wherein
Hmm.
uh, our grassroots program was really successful, but it did not continue. It really stopped. But if instead our approach is proactive, wherein futsal should be the instrument, just like what you're doing and just like what we've been discussing during the course, our level 1 course,
Hmm.
because you already mentioned the formula. We have the facilities. We we have all the courts, basketball courts. So can you give your idea on this 20-year program from the other countries who really uh, have leagues, right? Because we're talking
Yep.
about leagues. How come it's not pushing through? So the money is there, but the funds are
Hmm.
not there. So I think the grassroots approach should be more on barangay, like Payatas, for example. Can you give more of your idea on that aspect,
Sure thing.
especially on that 20-year program of the
Hmm.
other successful countries?
Yeah. So I think the universal thing, whatever country you're in, is that kids want to play. It really doesn't matter what they're playing. So whether it's football or basketball or as many sports as possible, kids just want to play. So they will play what's around, what's available to them. So halimbawa sa Payatas, kung gusto nila maglaro, punta sila sa barangay court, pero hindi pwede sila maglaro. Yung mga lalaki doon na magbabasketball, sila ang magdo-dominate yung court. May isang court para siguro 50,000 people. Siyempre, walang space, walang laro. So, dahil meron kaming sariling futsal court, at we have about 200 players, syempre before the lockdown. Pero meron ng space para 200 eventually kasi may pangalawang court na. Probably maabot siyang 500 players na pwedeng maglaro. Kahit kailan during the week. Kasi pwede sila maglaro, may interest sila sa football. Pero pwede rin ibang sports. Yung pinakamagaling ng players, normally naglaro sila ibang sports na rin. So,
Cross training,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, absolutely. It's good skills, it's good times. So gusto mo may options para sa mga players. Hindi isa lang. Gusto mo may space para sa football, space para sa basketball. It's not either or. It's sana both. Sana pangatlo pa.
Yes.
Um, and it's a different level. So syempre para sa national team, like you mentioned, Boston Palami. Of course, he's done so much for the Azkals. He's done so much for Philippine football on that level. Um, at the same time, the national team never drives the program. The program drives the national team in the long run. So what we have to do is try to get that base going na kung gusto mo maraming magaling ng players sa taas para may choice para sa ASCALs, tandaan ko yung mga times na like si Coach Vice or si Coach Tully, yung choice nila para sa left back or sa right back, ang mga centimids nila. Wala silang fullback. Like, it's parang yung buong defense with midfielders kasi walang options, walang ibang players. You want the full pool of players. You want the full options, and they are the players who will help to develop the league later on. They become the players, they become the fans, they become the market. So sa mga bansa, I think women's football is an extremely good example. Kasi pag kita mo yung paano sila nag-grow yung football sa United States. Doon sa United States, hindi sobrang galing ang men's team nila, pero yung women's team nila pinakamagaling sa buong mundo.
Yes.
Um, sa 1970s, wala silang players. They had, I think, about 400 female players. 400 only. It just wasn't a popular sport. Dito sa Pilipinas, mas marami ngayon. Their focus was may mga spaces para maglaro. May mga spaces para pwedeng maglaro ang mga players nila. Yung mga girls, yung boys kung gusto nila rin. And eventually, they wanted to play and play and play. So the parents as well, they see football, they see futsal,
Roy,
and yeah,
let me interrupt you, no, because I think in relation to what you're mentioning regarding the women's, no, I think I've
yeah.
seen in your pictures that most of your players are really on the female side. Is it because of your belief also that our women's is capable of really moving into the World Cup stage?
And that's an advantage for sure, and that's a potential that the Philippines really has. There's massive potential here for women's football that isn't yet being tapped properly. Sa aming players, it's about 60-40, 60% boys, 40% girls. It's just yung mga girls natin, may mas matandang players so kaya nila sa women's team. Halimbawa sa sevens nito, yung team natin dito sa sevens,
Yeah.
may buong team, kaya natin compete sa sevens. Sa men's natin, 15, 16 years old pa lang sila. So hindi yata pwede sa sevens. Mas physical lang ang men's game, syempre. Mabubog sila sa ganun. Versus our girls here na kaya nila makompete. Also, dahil sama-sama ang mga boys at saka yung mga girls, mas challenge ang girls sa physical side with the boys. So mas mabilis ang development nila. So may mga players dito, dalawa, tatlo sila sa national team, yung youth national team. May ibang players na kaya nila kung tuloy sila. Kaya nila maabot sa national team kung tuloy. There's some really skillful, talented players. I'd love to say, oh, that's because of the coach, but no, it's because they're just playing and playing and they get to play. They get to have fun, they get to play. They're playing against the boys. May mga dalawang girls dito na they were top scorers in a boys league, which was really funny. Because there was a league that we were part of, a youth league, where they were trying to encourage girls to play, which was really, really good. And so they gave girls, kung nakagol ang girl, dalawang goal siya, counted as dalawa, hindi isa. So, yung isang girl namin, siya ang captain ng boys team namin sa age group na yan, I think under 13. And siya ang top scorer sa league. Kasi counted as 2 goals, she had 4 times as many goals as anyone else. And so the next season, napalit nila yung utos dahil sa kanya. So the girl changes the rule for the whole thing. And it's maganda yan kasi kita natin yung kung may chance sila, kung may opportunity sila, kaya nila mag-succeed. So parang balik natin doon sa USA is sa buong mundo, walang chance na mga women. I think in England, women were not allowed to play until the 1960s. They were banned. Germany, I think 1970s, Brazil, hanggang 1980s siguro sa Scotland na rin. So bawal talaga, as in illegal maglaro ng football. So wala silang national team ng ganun. Whereas in the USA, kasi may utos sila sa 1970 about Title 9, kung familiar kayo sa ganun, gender equality. Kung may men's team ka na sa university, dapat may women's team. Kung may boys team ka na sa varsity, dapat may women's team na rin. So gusto nila pantay. Kasi may utos na yan, mas maraming chances, mas maraming laro, and then eventually, like tulad ngayon, mas maraming players sa USA at one stage, mas marami silang maglaro kesa sa buong mundo. There were more female players in the United States than in the rest of the world put together. So syempre, silang pinakamagaling, silang champions, silang World Cup champions. What, 5 times, 6 times? Of course, they're the best in the world.
Roy, do you think the compensation also is one factor? That's why being the world champion in the women's category now, the women's player or the girls in the US are now thriving to be one of the being part of the national team or being part of the professional level. So
Oh, it's a great opportunity. I think they will play whether there's compensation or not. Sa pagkita natin sa grassroots, we're talking about kids. anong motivation ng kids? Pag tanong natin yung mga bata, bakit maglaro kayo? Masaya, kasamang friends ko, ganun. So kung provide mo yung activity, kung football, futsal, kahit anong activity ang provide mo, yun ang gagawin nila. So it's for the kids, that's not the motivation yet. They just want to play and have fun.
Roy, before I forgot, I have just one question regarding this picture because
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing your team in the sevens because I usually go there every Sunday to watch
Mm-hmm.
games. Now after I played myself, after I play, I stay for what to watch some of the matches. And I've seen your team, Payatas was really a good team. And then suddenly after that season, the next season you didn't join.
Mm.
I heard maybe you can now tell us why. What's the reason? Is it because the entrance fee or the registration fee went up or is more expensive than the previous?
For the league, the seventh league, the registration is very fair. It was around 25-35K, which when you put in the referees, the pitch rental, yung lahat ng ganon,
Yes.
it's quite fair. And kita natin, non-Nivea ang sponsor ng team ng women's natin. So that was okay. If you put the picture back up, ang kita natin sa women's team dyan, kasi women's ito, so kalaban nila yung pinakamagaling ng women sa buong bansa, no? Yung mga national team players
Yes,
talaga.
yes, yes.
So, Nomads are obviously a very strong team. They're also quite young. They're very, very strong. Stallion, Outcast. Um, oh, I'm going to get shouted out by the other teams now. I'm forgetting some of that. Pero syempre, mga women's team sila talaga. So medyo competitive. It was really, really competitive. So ang kita natin sa kanila, sa mga girls natin, is marami sila mga bata pa. Yung pinakamatanda is 21 years old. Yung iba, 18 pababa. I think there's a 13-year-old, a 14, a 15. A lot of them are 13, 14, 15, 16 years old only. Like 13 to 16 yung marami.
No,
So ang kailangan nila is may pahinga. It
Roy,
really was just about rest.
actually I was asking regarding because
Yeah.
you were really performing very good on that season. And then I'm just thinking, why
Yeah.
on the following season you were not there already? Is it
Eh,
already the
that's exactly why. It's because they're the kids. They have school. They have so much. Ang
uh,
kasi women's team yan, kasi medyo professional yan. Meron kaming training. Nanood kami yung mga games. So may video feedback na rin ako sa kanila para kita natin anong maganda sa laro, anong kailangan mag-improve. It's very, very intense. And so, kasi mga nasa school sila, and then yung season, mabilis ang next season. So the seventh league is a brilliant league. We loved it. And ang sinabi namin din, ang sinabi ko kay Anton din, is maganda talagang league. It's just we need a break and then we join the next season.
okay.
Although COVID happened, so when the next season comes on, we'll be ready for that. Mas marami na kaming players na kaya sa level na yan,
Okay.
na mas malaking squad. So it's really just about mga bata sila. So they needed to focus on school, on other things first.
Okay. So Roy, we have one question here, no, coming from our Facebook. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
this is from Joel. Roy, were you able to incorporate FIFA 11 Plus? I think this is the warm up
Ah,
in your training program. If yes, was it really significant? And were you able to adapt to the advanced level or part two of the exercise?
honestly, not really. It's a good option for siguro para sa mga yung mas matandang players. Tulad sa ako, kailangan kong warm up. Otherwise, may injury. Matanda na ako. I'm carrying a bit of extra weight. Sa mga bata, meron kaming warm up sa bola. So yung ball tapping, yung mga ganon. Sa akin, I think that's okay as a warm up. Yung FIFA 11 would be more older players.
Actually, partner, no, Roy, when it comes to the FIFA 11, it's really up to the demand of the training. Yeah.
Hmm.
If,
Yeah.
if you're going to focus maybe if the temperature is really, I mean, normal, maybe you can reduce the time, no? But
Hmm.
mostly in the dynamic concept of the game
Yeah.
or the dynamic football we were talking with me and coach, my partner Aris, is that it should be all moving
Hmm. Yeah.
in,
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
incorporation with the ball and then the warm up. So I
Yeah.
think it's more of like that.
Yeah, it's good that they're starting to catch up with the dynamic stretching over the static stretching, and for the warm up, that's good. We try to get the dynamic stretching as part of the ball tapping. So with the ball tapping, you've got the movements going on. Yeah, it's a positive thing.
Roy,
Speaking of warming up for older players like us, so more ideal for the following. Let's try to discuss on Maharlika FC, Coach
Hmm.
Roy, because I think they need to do 11 plus warming up. The players are Misa Bahadoran, Simon Greatwich, Jerry Barbaso,
Yeah, it's good.
David Basa, Anton, uh, and the others. So
Hmm.
it's actually being coached by
Roxy.
Roxy. Roxy also had an injury,
Yeah,
so he's more into coaching.
yeah.
So you gave your opinion on uh, on
Hmm.
PFL and the Ascals.
Hmm.
Can you give your ano? You made mention kasi here na parang circuit paikot-ikot na lang, 'di ba? Tama naman 'yon. Yung issue, yung problema natin on the PFL, on how
Ah,
we
okay.
approach the league.
Yeah.
So, what's your say on Maharlika FC joining?
Uh,
Are because I mentioned to Misa, are you sure you're joining with the younger ones because you might get injured instead of promoting, you will
End your
get
career.
a major injury.
Yes.
So maybe you just give your say on what you've wrote from your post.
yeah, I caught some of the episode with Misa. He talked about he had a really bad injury, right? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
Achilles. I
Yeah.
think Achilles, yeah.
Hmm. There's I think he said something about his back as well, if I remember right.
yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
there's a really serious injury, which yeah, I didn't know about. Yeah, what the posts? I think the more controversial parts you're referring to are about the league itself being not sustainable. About yung circuit ng sinasabi mo is ikot-ikot ang problema. It's the same root
Oh,
problem
tama.
and that. Sa Maharlika, maganda naman ang idea nila kung parang amateur club, no? Walang sweldo, walang ganon. It makes sense. Parang bagay yun sa sistema nito, sa liga nito, bagay yun. So, syempre, kailangan nila matanggap na kung may magaling ng player na scouted ng ibang players, wala silang sweldo, probably walang contract para maglaro. So, alam nila, next season, mag-akyat siya sa ibang club. But that's a really good mission. That's a really good vision of, sige, kung ganyan tayo, yun ang club natin, we providing opportunities for players to show what they can do for a bigger level. And that's a good win-win. So sa post ko, na-compare ko sila sa Queen's Park sa Scotland. Yun ang isang amateur club doon sa Scotland. They play in the professional leagues, I think, what, the fourth tier? They're normally in the fourth tier of Scotland. So that's already still, I mean, that's like 1 to 2 million peso salary every year, kahit fourth tier. Pero yung pinakamagaling ng players nila, syempre, nagmo-move on sila. It's a club, so you have an opportunity to see that. So parang bagay yun, sa sistema nito sa liga natin na yun, bagay ang Maharlika, I wish them luck. I really do. It won't solve the problems of the league, and that not meant to. Maharlika isn't trying to solve the problems of the league. Kung gusto natin mas sustainable ang liga, kung gusto natin pwedeng pro league talaga, kailangan natin ayusin yung liga at saka yung grassroots, yung buong pyramid muna.
Yes, yes. How about their, what do you call this? Maharlika kasi what they're promoting is para sa masa, but
Hmm.
then they're not actually involved with well, like you're with Payatas, 'di ba? Like halimbawa Tondo sana, yung
Yeah.
mga ganon.
Actually,
So anong
partner,
comment mo doon?
actually they are involved, no? I mean, they are involved in Tondo. I think they take advantage of the players they have in the sevens. who are joining the Sevens Football League. I think Anton tapped them because they're representing Maharlika Manila FC.
Mm.
Ilan yung players nila doon, galing doon?
I think nakita ko yung I have my former player din who are playing in Nemesis FC. I saw him training already with Maharlika FC. So I think they are tapping the Tondo players, some of the Tondo players to play for Maharlika FC. So
Mm.
so I think that's part of the agreement ata partner. I think I don't know if Roy will agree of partnering Maharlika and Manila. I don't
Mm.
know. I'm not sure. Maybe, but I see some Tondo players already.
May photo op sila kay Yorme. Diba? They had a photo op with Yorme, our mayor of Manila,
Yeah.
Isko, the famous Isko, Mayor Isko Moreno. So maybe that's one move. Anyway, their
Mm.
intention really is good. But
Mm.
then our concern is how can they really last? The question of budget because they are dependent on piso. Although the idea is there, but then how can we help? Because it might destroy the league itself. They might be the one to, well, we really do not know, but
Part
some tournaments, if we have teams that are not that well funded, it will follow on the results.
partner partner
Yes.
actually it is also gonna be an issue right now because I think Coco posted regarding the bubble games,
Mm.
'di ba? There will be billeting in one venue, I mean one hotel, and then that's gonna be another budget. I mean this
Mm.
kind of because for sure if it's 22 players, I don't know if the federation will be involved in the expenses or it's solely merely of the club. So that's something that really it's really gonna cost things for a club. So I hope that
Maybe Qatar Airways,
funded, yes, possibly, yes.
they will they will really distribute the sponsor. Well, we do not know because the some of the guests, Coach Roy mentioned really that, well, you know this one, the PFL, they force it, right? They went outside to Iloilo, to Cebu, to Davao, to Bacolod. So the budget was not ready and
Mm.
the fans are not really, well, here in Luzon, but in Bacolod many people are watching. So Coach Roy, what's your say on uh, community based
Mm.
clubs, because you're
Yeah.
pushing or you're really promoting that clubs should or program should be a community based, like the
Yeah,
pyramid. We
absolutely.
coaches know about that,
Yeah.
but what's your say on these clubs who are not, uh, well, in general, what's your call
Yeah,
on?
it's like going back to the 20 years plan before. Is the first thing is getting the kids playing, and that's getting places to play. And that means being in the community. That means being somewhere, based somewhere. Kasi pag may, halimbawa, kung may isang futsal court ka sa isang komunidad, eventually, yun ang isang team. Eventually, yun ang isang team na pwede kasama sa Philem Sevens or sa dati, yung UFL or sa mga leagues. And then, as they get better and better, they go up the football pyramid or down the football pyramid. Ang kailangan natin is maraming players, maraming teams, and then we can build the pyramid. Hindi pwede maabot sa taas kung wala pang baba. If there's no one there at the base. Um, and that's why most of the ASCALs, we find them from the diaspora, the kids who grow up outside with Filipino parents, of course, and they're the better players. Why? Because they've had more opportunities. They've had more of them playing football. So in terms of being community based, absolutely, that's the next step, right? You want a court, you want a pitch, you want some sort of field in a community. So if you look at why Brazil produced some of the best talents in the world, meron silang futsal court tuwing favela, meron silang field tuwing favela, tulad sa barangays natin. Meron silang, halimbawa, may futsal court sila sa in every single favela, pretty much in every single barangay, where the kids can just play, not where the adults play and they dominate the basketball court, but where the kids play. So the community-based thing is so crucial. Kasi bakit gusto mo mag-support ng isang club? Bakit gusto mo mag-support ng isang company? The fans don't grow from that. The fans grow if that's a United. It's Barcelona. It's the community based in one area. They have their own futsal court or pitch in an area where they're developing their players, their academy, and so on. And so they're genuinely that community. You hope that happens with every team. But like you said, with Iloilo or Davao or yung ibang mga communities, they try to transplant it and just put it there without anything there. The only exception would be Ceres, who were already based in Bacolod, and so they have the most fans. So it's no surprise the teams who have the most fans are the teams who are actually based within a community. Sa sevens natin, sa Tondo at saka sa Payatas, mas marami ang fans namin, mas marami ang nood namin, yung games namin, versus the professional league in the Philippines. How silly is that? How silly is it that there's more people watching a game of Payatas FC or Tondo FC than watching Global or Loyola or Kaya or someone like that? Why? It's their town. It's their community.
So you really want to highlight, Roy, that it's really how you prioritize the community. No, you put the setting
Hmm.
of football into the community base because that's how
Yeah.
you generate those fans to support the game, right?
Yeah. Why would a kid care about your club? Why would a kid care about one of the teams right now? There is absolutely no reason why they should. Why should they be a fan of Stallion or Global or whoever it is? Right now, there's no reason. Whereas what they're trying to do is get it based within the community. This is my team now. This is now um, like Tondo FC. This is my team, my community, and I'm representing our area. We can support that now. And so that's where it becomes so much easier to grow fans and later on everything else.
Roy, I think this is one thing. No, I mean in the picture,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that this community of yours are really treasuring, that this livelihood that you are giving the payatas, and aside not only football but this your vision of helping out these young kids. Maybe you can share us what this picture is all about.
Sure thing. So this is one of our tutorials. So sa org namin, syempre hindi lang football. Mas sikat kami para sa football natin. Pero yung idea namin is more about yung holistic development ng komunidad natin. So, halimbawa, kung ayusin mo yung education sa isang lugar, maganda yan, pero ano mangyayari pag mag-graduate sila? Wala pang jobs or hindi lahat ng mga bata pwedeng mag-aral. Marami kailangan magtrabaho or may ibang reasons. So we have to work with everything together, yung education, the sports and social side, the financial side, and yung mga internships or employment opportunities, and the mental health. Pagsama-sama ang lahat, pwede na tagumpay ang mga bata sa future. Pwede sila matutunan, pwede sila we break the cycle of poverty. That's where we can truly break the cycle now. So in this picture, for example, one of our older scholars, she's also on the women's team. She's teaching, she's doing the tutorials with our younger scholars. So may isang scholar, may group sila ng mas younger kids na magma-mentor sila about sa mga school here. So we have with our youth center, our sports center, and our social business, our Fair Play Cafe, we try to hit all of those pillars. That's why we call it leveling the playing field. Kung magulo ang isang area ng pitch, hindi pwede maglaro. Kailangan natin yung buong field, yung buong pitch, maganda para pwedeng maglaro ng game.
Yes.
Yung ano, kasi you're really sure on what you're saying and you're really what's this? it really shows on your program because everybody knows when they hear your name, siya yung ano, talagang bumuhay, parang siya yung bumuhay sa Payatas. Ay, si Roy, ano yan? Ah, talagang ano, tinulungan niya yung mga bata doon. So those words are really evidences. So my question now, what is your advice for people who are really interested, who
Mm.
are really passionate into building also similar
Yeah.
with Payatas program,
Mm.
but they really do not have this
Financial.
idea. So what will be their first step?
Mm.
What's the second one? Because many people attempted to really put up a foundation, but then it did not last. It
Yeah.
took them, let's say, 1 year, or some are just on the start. So what's your advice? Can you give us our viewers
Yes.
some tips on really what are the first step, second,
Yeah.
and then some
Sure.
issues that you could share?
Sure thing. Yeah, I mean, the first thing to say is that we have made loads of mistakes along the way, and syempre, hindi pa kami perfect sa lahat. Maraming mistakes, maraming mga problema, maraming natutunan namin dyan. So as long as we learn from that and get better, then we can use that. One thing that was very, very useful, sinabi ko kanina, dahil pagsimula kami, walang pera, walang budget. So kailangan namin maliit talaga ang project muna. Get to know the community, be truly based within the community. So by isang taon, dalawang taon, alam nila tuloy ka, may trust. Tiwala na sila, sige, bahagi ka na. Because they see that you're there constantly. So if you're interested in the development aspect, honestly, hindi importante kung football or basketball or volleyball, iba pa, sports, music, arts, kahit anong ganyan. Basta may group activity, parang team na building the relationship with the community para may tiwala na. When you have that trust, when you have that relationship, doon makinig tayo sa komunidad, mga komunidad natin. Ang daming mga tao pumunta doon, bigay ng fast food, bigay ng school supplies, aalis na. Hindi sila babalik. Bakit? Hindi sila nagtanong, ano talaga ang kailangan mo? They assume. They assume they know what the community needs. They go there, give out as a feeding program or as a bag of clothes, and then they leave. Sometimes that can be useful, whereas part of a larger program. Pero kung hindi natin magtanong, kung hindi tayo bahagi ng komunidad, hindi natin alam ano talaga ang mga kailangan. Kasi yung komunidad sa Payatas, iba ang kailangan nila, iba ang experience nila kaysa sa Tondo o ibang komunidad, yung mga Gawat Kilinga, Trinity Pilipinas, Western Bikutan, yung mga komunidad na nasa football. So we see the needs are different, so the approach has to be different. The biggest advice I would give is always start small. Make sure na tama ang paraan muna sa gawin mo. One learning that I have is na-try ako na may sports team, may school, may social business. Kasi alam natin kailangan lahat-lahat para tagumpayan lahat. Pero pag maraming gawin, overwhelmed ka na sa ginagawa. You get quickly overwhelmed with how much you have to do. And it takes a while for the people around you to adjust and to learn how to do things well and in the right way para sustainable siya. So it takes a while to learn. Sometimes you need to slow down to go faster. Sometimes you need to slow down to do it the right way, get the right idea for the future, the right vision, make sure you get it right there, and then move on to the expanded or grow that. So it's a constant process. Makinig tayo sa mga komunidad. Kumusta ito? Anong feedback sa program nito? Paano tayo mag-improve? Ganon. And then gradually expand that very slowly.
Roy.
By the way, what's your vision for Payatas FC or
Mhm.
your foundation?
Yeah. Well, para sa sports natin, yung vision is pwede siya magiging isang club like probably hindi siya pro tulad sa PFL, mahal. mahal yun. At saka hindi sustainable. Pero like tulad sa Seven, sa Women's League, gusto namin sa halimbawa yung PSF Women's League, maganda yun pero malayo. Kung lapit sila sa mga universities halimbawa, if they find home fields closer, bagay yun. And then that creates the the structure, the pyramid. Para sa 10 taon na meron kaming laro sa Payatas. So maraming mga bata, maraming gusto maglaro, maraming players. So may pool kami para sa isang team. And then we can select for yung sevens, yung parang men's and women's team. So eventually, ganun. Para sa fair play, it's really yung sistema na the community owns what's going on. So more and more, yung older scholars natin ang makakuha yung mga projects, tulong sila sa tutoring, tulong sila sa management ng cafe, ng sports. So isang player namin doon sa women's team, siya ang leader ng sports ngayon. Yung isang player, siya ang leader ng youth center. So tulong sila sa mga ibang scholars. So it's having that community. The vision is this self-sustainable community who are supporting the next batch, and they support the next batch, and they support the next batch. There we break the cycle of poverty.
Roy, actually the program that you've been instilling to this community is
Actually,
it's really good, no? Kasi I was thinking, no, you were talking about all the positive side, no? You mentioned all the positive side when it comes to how you establish or organize the community of Payatas. But for sure, I definitely guarantee that you have this struggle when
Hmm.
it comes those people in the community as well trying to put down this program. Yeah? Kasi
Hmm.
people might also be thinking that what is really the real idea of this guy? No, coming from nowhere, coming to this
Yeah.
community and doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how do you address this
Yeah.
concern? Because I have one, I will share it after you answer this
Okay.
one.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult, and that's one of the reasons why um, maganda naman talaga pag coach mo yung coaches and sila ang gagawin. Mas madali ang lahat pag ayos sila, pag tama ang paraan nila, pagkita nila yung care nila sa mga bata, it helps it so much more. So kung ako ang sinabi sa bata, sige, kung masipag ka na, kung ito ang gagawin mo, pwedeng ganito sa future, pwedeng gano'n. Bakit tiwalan nila ako? Siyempre, puti ako, galing sa England. Tama yan sa England, kung masipag ka, may mga paraan. Pero honestly, sa Payatas, kahit masipag ka, kahit mag-aral ka,
It's not enough.
50-50. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what do you learn at the schools in the community kung sandaan ang mga classmates na nang ganun, mahirapan ang teachers? Everything we've said before, it's not possible. Pero pag kita nila yung older coaches natin, si Ronaldin, si Roseanne, si Melanie, si Jericho, dati, pag kita nila yung mga athletes, kuyas nila, pag sila ang sinabi na um, nag-improve ka dito, well done. Ang tanong yung mga bata, hey coach, kung ganito ako, pwede ako tulad sa'yo. And they really see it's possible then. That's the breakthrough. So this is how yes, we say it before, right? It's start small because you have to have that proof. And the next people, and then pag may proof ka, mas tiwala ang lahat. Kasi tama ka, mahirapan ang tiwala. Mahirapan ang belief or yung trust or yung pag-asa kung wala pang mga results or example.
Yes.
And you're right. My context, my background, my childhood is so different to theirs.
Actually, I always say that word. Actually, uh, Roy, Roy, you know why? Because both of us and Aris were using that word on our last interview with Misak, no? Anyways, I use
anyways.
anyways.
Yep. Yung
Now,
transition.
because it really was an issue because I once been part of a program.
Mm,
We had this um an organization trying to help our team, and then
yeah.
they will try to sponsor the team. and then suddenly, we were amazed because they have to pay for everything, and then suddenly there was human trafficking on
Oh,
on the side. So
oh, okay.
it's really something that that's why I ask bluntly to you, because
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that this will be an issue as well, that those people in the community might be thinking that way. We don't know, because it's we cannot please everyone.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
we're doing the best thing for the community, they'll be thinking, no, not all of them will be positive. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Yun
uh,
ba yung sabi ni Coach Roy na sila yung bida sa traffic? Yung kinikwento mo? Hindi.
hindi. Yun yung ano,
Human trafficking, very different traffic.
no.
Much,
Ah,
much worse.
okay.
That incident was partner when we went with Ake,
Mm,
went to Europe.
Ah, yung ano,
Yes.
yes, yes.
So that was
Well,
the incident that happened, that there was an issue about that, and
mm,
we find out.
I even heard the stories, our national players before going abroad and not coming back. They just stayed there because life is better abroad. But how come you, with a good life, coming here to help out? So that's
Okay,
really something else.
so we have this game for you, Roy. The dynamic football. This is the philosophy that we are teaching the Filipino coaches how to adapt, to go direct or keep possession. This is how we will try to run the system in our country. We're still working on things since we started in 2017. This is the program that is being brought up in
yeah,
every courses. Now, if we will show you a picture, you just have to give an idea what comes into your mind, and then uh, it's either you go directly to the point if you have an issue with him, or you remember something on that person, then you just have to tell it in this show. All right.
Before we proceed, can we ask Roy, anong opinion mo? Because our football philosophy that we're trying
mm,
to use is dynamic football.
yeah,
So it's a flexible approach. We can do possession if we can do build up
yeah,
against an opponent. We can go direct if uh, we wanted to. So it's a flexible approach. Similar in futsal.
yeah,
So, well, futsal, if you see players who are not good in futsal, they just throw, right? Goalkeeper
mm,
throw from one side, so it's a direct game.
yeah,
Throw to the
But those who are good, they do ball possession. So now we wanted to teach everyone, be it futsal, football, beach football, to follow our Pinoy system. So what's
mm.
your opinion on that?
So I like the word you use there, flexible. It
Yes, yes.
everything depends. It depends on the situation. Kung hindi ka sobrang galing, siguro kailangan mag-direct ang laro.
Yes, 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 yes.
Or kung mas matangkad ka sa kalaban mo, siguro yung mga crosses, bagay yun.
Yes.
Sa Pilipinas, syempre, mas maliit ang mga players compared sa ibang mga bansa. So, siguro, hindi bagay ang direct play. Kahit kita natin yun sa one-day tournaments, it's lagi long ball, long ball, long ball. Back
so
and forth. Walang midfield.
Roy,
Yeah.
what is your comment on that? If you see that, I mean, are you satisfied if your team is gonna do that and then you
Oh, of
win
course
the
no.
game? Diba?
Yeah, yeah, of course no. It's because if you want them to learn, siguro manalo sila yung trophy. Honestly, kung direct play sa 12 years old and below, probably mas manalo sila. Pero mas konti ang matutunan. They don't learn as much. They don't develop as much. So
Yes.
pag aabot sila 14, 15 years old, ang alam nila lang is yung mag-direct ball, long ball, long
Yeah,
ball.
yeah.
So
Yes.
it's like that. So yeah, absolutely. We coach our kids to um, try to solve the problem they're with, try to solve the problem that's in front of them and the problem the other team gives them. So usually that's possession, pass move, pass move.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
when speaking of one day tournament, we're
Mm,
in, well, obviously if you have a coach who is not knowledgeable, he'll just instruct players to throw. So for the coaches viewing, maybe you can set conditions, because for
mm,
me, I do tournaments, futsal tournaments, I set conditions that we won't allow the ball to go past the halfway uh, coming from the keeper. So with that
Yeah,
condition, you train them to
yeah.
do ball possession. So that's
That's
just an
exactly the rule
example.
we use with our youth leagues in Payatas. So sa Fair Play Futsal League, sa Metro Manila Futsal League dati, pag sa keeper, dapat sa sariling half ang unang pass. Uh,
Yes, yes, yes,
Actually, that's why
yes.
partner, the organizers as well should be aware
yeah,
of what is the program that we
yeah.
are trying to instill to the players. Because if we will not have this kind of conditions, they will just run the tournament without considering this kind of, because they just wanted to win, and then they
Mm,
will just go long, di ba?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll show you this picture, Roy, and then just say what comes in.
getting nervous now. Ah, Bob. Bob's a lovely guy. We're good friends.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good
I
start.
What can
I
you
had a
share?
chat with him. Nagtatampo. He's
Mm,
no longer with the
Football?
football, ano.
Yes,
Mag-focus na lang daw siya sa ano.
Western.
Well, maybe Coach Roy can share. You've been talking with Sir Bob.
mm. Yeah, Bob. I think Bob's publicly said that obviously he was upset with Philippine football and the way it's been run and so on. I think all of us can empathize with that. I mean, we go from every year with the league. Um, there are people who it gets very political, right? At the very top of Philippine football, it's very, very political. It's not about what's best for Philippine football 5 years, 10 years. It's what's best for me right now. So you can understand why many people, Bob, myself, and other people, are frustrated with things and the direction of Philippine football.
Right, right. So you mentioned about the situation of Bob. Maybe we can go straight to you as well. Does this situation happen to you also? You felt this kind of frustration with
Oh, of
what's
course.
happening?
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the PFL, every single journalist, every single pundit, every single person almost involved in Philippine football said, if not publicly, they said privately, this won't work. You host games at Carmona, no one goes. You charge half a mil to a million registration, you'll have 5 or 6 teams. Teams will fold. We all knew that would happen. And we all said it back then, and we knew it would happen. But that's because they're trying to, in fairness to the PFF, they're trying to do what FIFA has promoted with starting with a professional league. The Philippines isn't ready for it. We need someone with a vision. We need someone who can think long term, someone who can come up with this idea of this is how we're going to develop Philippine football, not just now, but in 10, 20 years from now. This will create the market, it will create the fan base, it will create the players so that we will be successful. That will drive the national team. And now we'll have more. The whole debate about local players, Phil Foreigners, Jamal on. It's really ugly. It's such an ugly debate because it misses the point of you're going to select the best players. Why are the Phil Foreigners or those Filipinos based abroad? Why are they the better players? Because they've got opportunities as kids. Here, we therefore need to increase the opportunities for kids here and have a plan. It's what we're missing. We're missing a plan, a proper 5, 10 year vision. What's going to happen for Philippine football? So you can understand when it's the same problems year after year after year, people get annoyed.
Actually, is it the issue of the number of games also for the local players?
Um, I don't think so. It's not so much the number of competitive games, because there are lots of possible games, tournaments. There's quite a lot of tournaments now, and that's been improving. There's more kids playing and more tournaments. Um, it's more like how many kids can play in their community. If you go to most countries in the world, there's somewhere for the kids to play. There's a local park, there's a local court. I mentioned earlier about France, and in every poorer community, there's a concrete space to play football. In Brazil, there's a futsal court in every favela. That's the first step. And if you look at it from a number of hours played, if you go around the country and have kids play football once to try and introduce the sport, okay, so that's a nice start. When you leave, can they play? If there's nowhere to play, they won't carry on. And so
Yeah.
the next step, have the space to play. When you get those spaces to play, the rest will follow.
Okay. So now this will be your next picture.
Kevin. These are positive. Good. Yeah, Kevin's a lovely guy. Genuine, really nice guy. He's really trying his best to develop along a vision. And yeah, as head of the PFF futsal department now, I hope he's able. I hope he's allowed. I hope he's able to direct that vision because it's a real long-term thing. So Kevin is someone who's is really genuine. He's one of the good guys as well in Philippine football. There's a lot of good people in Philippine football who they all feel the same way. They feel like we've been trying to do this and we've been trying to share it. But I think it comes back to what you said earlier. Oh, they have to convince the leaders to do this. If you have to convince the leaders to do the right thing, they're not the right leaders.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, now this is the picture that you have to be careful of, huh?
Oh, wow, that got personal. Okay. Nice. Okay, that's different. She's a very private person. Do you want to say hi? She's sat over
Yes.
there. Yeah, this is my fiance, Zargi. Um, so obviously, I'm very, very biased on this one.
Maybe you can share how did you met? Is it through football or through Payatas program?
Through UP, she was a student at Masters in International Studies. We were in a class together. So we met there, and what's the word? You know, just start to court, and who knows?
Yes. So I think my partner here have something to ask as well.
Yeah.
How many years? You've been together for years already?
Um, 8.
8 years?
I'm gonna look over and just get confirmation on that one.
But you've been in the country for how many years
10.
already? 10.
Yeah.
And
Is it
during that 10
uh
years, you are straight?
Sorry.
what do you mean
Wait, was
straight?
this? Yeah, all right. This was back to the question of Aris having a crush on me, wasn't it? Is that what we're talking about?
Is she the reason why you stayed here in the Philippines?
One of.
One of
I'd always want to be involved in the kind of work I'm doing, and always want to do that. And of course, you make a life where you are. So I'm glad she's part of that.
Wow. So that's something we're looking for, no?
Mm.
That
How much younger I look as well.
So this one,
oh,
Coach Roy, maybe you can share before we go to that one, we will
Mhm.
have a quickie play first, pala. Before we go to that sharing that you had a tournament that you went in Rio de Janeiro, maybe you
Mm.
can answer this one first. We have this game which we call the quickie play. Okay, the quickie play, you have to answer as fast as you can. You just have to choose. Okay? Oh, Messi or Ronaldo?
Messy.
Okay, the score now is 12-8. I think Messi is going forward already. Okay, go.
Barcelona, Real Madrid.
Right now, neither. In the past,
Neither.
Barcelona.
Barcelona. Okay. Liverpool or Chelsea?
Liverpool.
Why? Because they're winning?
No, the way they've won. They haven't bought the league. They've really invested and developed. Um,
They've been developing for 4 to 5 years, right?
what
For
they were the top team in what, the 80s and 90s, for a long time. And like all clubs, they'd buy the best players, but for the last 5-10 years, they really developed well.
Manchester City or Manchester United?
Neither. Um, Out of those two, Manchester United.
okay. How about this one? Local player, but I think they're half. Phil or Shrek? Phil Young husband or Shrek?
In terms of what they mean to the country or how they develop the game, probably Phil.
This is a quickie, no?
All
But
right.
yeah, you can just give your
Yellow
uh
card.
Oh, wow.
Yellow card because you didn't answer that fast. All right, it's okay.
Phil,
Kevin Goku or Bob?
SpongeBob.
they're both friends. You can't separate that.
Oh, that's good.
Uh,
It's so safe, huh? So safe.
for that one, they're both good friends.
Okay, this one.
Both good
Family,
people.
family or foundation?
Oh, uh, well, that I have to think. Uh, I've invested a lot with the foundation, of course.
So it's foundation.
Maybe. Wow.
All right, partner.
Football or futsal?
Futsal.
Yes.
Now, I didn't grow up with futsal, actually. Um, England were very bad for development for a long time. But yeah, since being in the Philippines, actually, futsal.
Okay, this one. Both of them. I think they also improve in futsal. Ronaldo, the first Brazilian.
Brazil?
Brazilian. Ronaldo,
Yeah.
Ronaldinho.
Ooh, Ronaldo.
Wow, that's me and also Coach Aris. R9.
Okay, how about brands? Nike or Adidas?
Neither. They're both a bit exploitative.
uh, how about beach or mountain? Because we're asking Boracay or Baguio. Have you been to both
No,
Places.
both tourist
different
tourist spots?
different beaches. I've not been to Boracay or Baguio. Tough one. Beach.
Oh, beach.
So how about football or girls?
I think both.
Ah!
Uh, Football.
Yeah.
Being single or getting married?
The right person getting married.
Yeah, good answer.
Yes. Good answer. That's the way, Roy. Your fiance is gonna watch you over.
And I'm going
Ah,
to ban the link. So
Okay.
okay, because I'm checking on your Facebook wall.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
have your Payatas news. Uh, it's a newspaper, right?
Yeah, the Payatas paper. Mm.
Payatas paper.
Yep.
You're the one who came up with having that one, right?
Well, the kids write everything. Everything was written by the kids. All of the
Oh,
articles, the artwork, it was all from the kids. They had a group for doing that. It was, yeah, my idea to have a community paper. I asked them if they wanted to do this, but they've done everything. It's all their work.
have you seen one of your student who's as smart as you, who's as critical, who's politically adventurous as you?
That's an interesting way of saying that. Politically adventurous. Wow,
Oh,
there's a lot
Example.
of layers to that. Ah,
Joy, do you have somebody who thinks the same way you think?
maraming matalino dyan. Maraming matalino dito na critical or um, pwede makausap. Oo, yung mga questions, yung mga bakit ganun. Yung isip
Oo.
lagi is, why is it like that? Bakit ganun? Para maintindihan, mas maintindihan. And I've learned so much from everyone here. I mean, in terms of fair play, kung ako mag-isa, hindi ganito lang ngayon. Syempre, is maraming ideas, maraming suggestions, maraming feedback galing sa mga kids natin, mga magulang natin. It's all been a massive team effort.
Wow. Galing. Speaking of yun, a player who's asking questions, who's if you give instructions, they question. Some coaches are really doing a wrong way, like, oh, I'll remove you because you're questioning my
Hmm.
my decision, like that, right? So how do you deal with those players who are actually they're just being curious and creative,
Hmm.
and they wanna do other
Yeah.
approaches, right?
Yeah. The question is how they do it. I think kung disrespectful sila, kung magmura sila sa'yo or kung pagalitan or mga ganon, syempre that's not great. Pero kung may tanong sila, maganda yan talaga. We encourage the questions. So pag mag-coach ako, kadalasan hindi ako sabihin dapat ganito. It's paano ka magsosolve ito? Sige, ito ang problema. Itong defender or itong space or depends what the problem is. How you ask how they're going to solve it. To try and bring it out.
Is
Even
some
the player who's quite slow, there's always someone who's a bit slow sometimes. You always bring them to a place where they're providing the answers. I like that a lot where they're
question
the
and
ones.
answer,
Mm,
question and answer approach like that.
yeah, yeah. And so uh, one of the big things for me is pag nako-coach ako yung mga women's team. Mas seryoso ang team na yan. It was a much more serious team. There's more money obviously involved for the league to join. Pupunta kami doon sa McKinley every week. We had to, they had to eat afterwards as well. So it was a trip to one of the fast food places afterwards. Mahal yun, gastos yun. So we had commitments in place, responsibilities. Um, I hate tardiness. Like if it's a training session, I hate people being late for that. So we set a rule at the start of the league, the training sessions. If you're late, you have to do the suicide runs, yung mga malakas ng takbo. But honestly speaking, kung may late na player, medyo nainis ako, halatan sa mukha ko na nainis ako sa late niya. More recently is like, if you try to make it more fun, like you laugh at them for being like, you've got to do the suicide run, and they'll run. They're a bit more
Cautious.
receptive. Yeah, it depends. It depends on who you're coaching. If it's a men's team, yeah, of course, strict. You're late, go to your suicide runs, or you're late, come back next week. Depends on what rule you've set. But what I like to do is, with the rule, they know that it applies to everyone. So one time I was late for the training session. There was problems with the car, and there was problems with yung commute. May problema sa traffic sa jeepney.
Traffic, yeah.
It was like an hour just to go a few kilometers. So late ako na napunta. So syempre, kailangan mo na natanggap na tawa sila sa'yo na ako ang takbo mo. So they see that that's the rule for everyone for a good reason. Because you're now waiting on that person to start the training session. So as long as you're willing to do that, and one time I was purposely late to show the kids that the rule applies to me as well. It's not because I'm the coach and you're the player.
Yes.
That's the rule for the benefit of all of us, and it depends on where they're at. It depends on the people you have, the kids you have, depends on their backgrounds. You really got to adjust to the players you're with. Like you talk about with direct or possession. Depende naman sinong team mo, anong skills nila, anong background nila, ganun. So we adjust based on that. There's a quote from an American coach which I like a lot. Is you've got to look at it in terms of balance. Every kid's life is like a bowl of whipped cream or shit. Some kids have pure whipped cream in their life, and you got to stir a bit of shit in there to make it harder and challenge them to improve. Some kids, their life is pure shit, and you got to put a lot of whipped cream in there to make it a bit sweeter. So it really depends on who you're starting with. There's a really nice phrase that they use in the coaching circles there for you don't coach the sport, you coach the player. So you start with where the player's at, where they're at, and base it around there.
Yeah. Okay. Coach Roy, maybe you can share to all the Football Life viewers here the experience you had when you went to
Ah,
Brazil. No,
mm,
how did you come up with this tournament? How are you invited? And then, of course, there's an issue of how much have you spent or somebody have spent for you, yeah,
yeah,
for the club.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is something
yeah.
that you wanted to share for the Football Life viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Team Philippines for the Street Trial World Cup. The Street Trial World Cup, tuwing 4 years, merong competition nila before the FIFA World Cup. Ang gusto nila is pakita ano mangyari sa international competitions tulad sa World Cup or isang example sa Pilipinas kasi hindi tayo kasama sa FIFA World Cup yet is pagpunta dito ang Pope. Pag pumunta dito ang Pope, dumayas sila yung mga street families, yung areas, nagbo-board sila yung area. Gusto nila pakita ano mangyari talaga sa mga street kids pag may ganyan ng tournament, pag may ganyan ng event. So in 2014, we had the chance as Fair Play to take over Team Philippines for the Street Trial World Cup. We brought the boys team and the girls team to the event in Brazil. It was such the first time, syempre, di namin experience before yung mga paperworks, yung mga travel clearances, yung mga ganon. So it was so difficult the first time. But we were so much better in 2018 sa Russia in preparing for that properly. But yeah, they did really, really well. Our girls team reached the final. Natalo kami sa Brazil 1-0 lang. So alam nyo gaano malakas ang Brazil. We beat England along the way, which is one of the proudest coaching moments, beating your own country, right? As a coach.
So how does the other coach was talking to you about that?
There's a lot more friendliness in this kind of competition because of the purpose of the event, because of the purpose of that. So the other coaches are very, very nice as well. They're all involved in their own charity in their own country. So they understand. Naintindihan nila ano ang ginagawa nyo, naintindihan nila yung mga challenges nyo. So yeah, it's much nicer in that respect. There's always one who's super competitive, but generally, they're really nice. They're really good people. So it's yeah, they did really well. The boys got to the quarterfinals. The boys division is always more competitive, more physical. So that's really strong for a country that's a basketball country, right? And it was really good to develop. And then nasa 2018, nasa semifinals kami. Parang sayang, we could have gone further in that, but they did so well. They did really, really well.
Roy, you mentioned regarding how the team was able to perform, no, out of how
Mm.
many teams that were joining. Um, in your observation, how does Filipino footballer, whether it's a female or a male,
Mhm.
have uh, have something to offer in the football scene all over the world?
Um, I think we can go back to yung point kanina na malaki talaga ang potential ng women's football dito. Sa men's football, na-develop ang maraming bansa. Um, the men's team is what 120, 130 right now in the world. Um, sa Asia, maraming bansa na syempre mas magaling. We need to accept that. Versus the women's team na konti lang ang support nila sa women's team. Pero compared sa ibang mga bansa, ang ganda talaga ng potential. There's so much possible there. Like the men's team are, in my opinion, the men's team is 30, 40 years away from the World Cup. The women's team is 1 or 2 games away from the World Cup. They were beaten by Thailand 1-0 sa qualification last time round. Na-expand na ang mga World Cup, 24 to 32 teams for the women. Um, it's about gender equality. Siyempre, may mga problema dito sa Pilipinas, pero compared sa ibang bansa, mas mataas talaga ang gender equality dito. Mas maraming oportunidad sa mga women, sa,
Yes, yes.
sa, sa girls. Siyempre, hindi perfect. Maraming problema pa. Alam ko yan. Pero mas marami pa ang oportunidad here compared to before. Um, the teams and the coaches who would look at our team, like pag may girls na kasama sa team namin ng boys, the 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 teams who would more have a problem with like, oh, may girl, ganun, they tended to be more foreign-based teams before because they're not, hindi sila sanay. Um, it's changing now, which is good. England's much better now for women's football than before. So it's changing gradually. But this is where we have to say that I think you guys have talked about it before, where sa in the younger age groups, the very young age groups, parang parehas ang level sa region, sa area. Pero pag abot ng 11, 12, 13, 14, malaking gap.
Yes,
The
yes.
gap really starts to grow there. And that's where we get to talk about why is that gap there, how do we bridge that gap, and what's going on.
Roy, you mentioned about that gap, no? I'm
Mm,
really very meticulous on that part. I
mm,
mean, in your view, in your perspective,
yeah,
how is it possible that we are
yeah,
having this issue regarding the gap?
yeah,
Considering that you were mentioning that in this specific age group we are almost the same level,
yeah.
and then on this age group we are already left behind.
Mm. Um, the first thing is numbers. I wrote about this in one of the articles before. It's like if you want a 1 in a million talent, if you want that real star player, that 1 in a million, well, you need a million other players to make that special talent.
Mm.
There are not 1 million kids playing football in the Philippines, so you cannot have a 1 in a million talent. It's basic math. At the younger age groups, there's more kids playing. Um, if I don't know the numbers in the Philippines, but in the USA, they found that any child who started to play, by the time they were 12 years old, about half to 2/3 had dropped out. Mostly dahil sa mga parents at saka sa mga coaches. Dahil hindi masaya ng football. It was all pagalitan ng coach, sinigawan ng mga magulang. The game was being played for the adults. And syempre maraming magandang examples here about it's about the kid. Pero pagpunta ka sa one-day tournaments dito, daming pagalitan yung mga players, pagalitan yung mga yung laro, sinigawan, nagmura sa mga players, yung mga coaches ng ganun. Or kahit na meron yung mga sample or yung mga ganun sa mga players nila. And it's throughout the world, not just in the Philippines. But if you go to a one-day tournament, you see many teams are playing for the adults, not for the kids. Because the pressure is on the coach. Kung hindi siya manalo, siguro wala ng job. Yung mga parents doon, hindi sila natutunan na para sa bata ito, let them have fun and enjoy it. So maraming nagjo-drop. Sa ibang mga bansa rin. But they start with a lot more players. So in the Philippines, we have a lot fewer players to choose from. Ang pag magde-develop sila, the pool isn't there. So pag maabot sa ASCALs, more players have to be chosen from abroad because the pool isn't so big anymore.
Partner,
Wow.
Coach Aris,
That's
siguro if you will remember the interview we had with Ma'am Christina Ramos, she was mentioning the popularity of ASCAS during the time 2010, 2011
Hmm?
to educate the fans, no, to educate the players on how to play the game. Siguro maybe at the point of Roy here right now regarding how the parents should react to a player, to his son or daughter during a match, and how the coach should also react
Hmm.
to a game.
Yeah.
This is one thing that maybe we can also look up to, look into, to how to really manage the players during a match, because it's really a factor also, not only maybe in US but also in the Philippines.
Yeah.
The player is getting out of football because he receives a negative feedback from the coach or from the parents, so they
Mm.
get pressured at all, they're not already enjoying the game, right?
Yung I think yung main point ni Ma'am Christina doon is we really did not take advantage of the popularity of
Yes.
football that time.
Yeah,
Wherein there should be a
education.
move. I think you even mentioned that on your some of your write-ups wherein there's no plan coming from PFL. So it's really something that we have to learn. And well, in your line of sharing, you've been mentioning that it's somewhat a process. So everything is a learning process.
Yeah.
Everything, though, there are things I like what you mentioned. We slow down to go faster. So maybe this time we take
Mm.
advantage of this pandemic. We
Yeah.
slow down. We do podcasts like this. There are lots of Facebook Live or other talk shows. I think even Gawad Kalinga,
Mm.
even other other clubs are doing this one. So it's really a good timing for us to slow down and think about things,
Mm.
and so that we can go faster, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
And you mentioned also the grassroots for futsal, because we have this Kasibulan grassroots program. So you've
Yeah.
been here for 10 years already. So you've seen that program. It's more of numbers. We're
Mm.
getting the numbers, but there's no follow up.
Yeah.
I think
consistency. Yeah,
the
Yeah.
program is good, but there's no follow up, unlike what you're doing in a foundation or in a barangay setting, community setting, or in they are involved. And your players, you mentioned that the next group of players
Mm.
are coaching the next. So there's like a ladder or a
Yeah.
system.
cycles.
So that's one lesson that we have to really address. So that's good, ano? Let's move on to SEA Games, Coach Roy, because all the guests, we've been asking all the guests, even if they're not involved, some of them were really involved. And
Yeah.
Partner,
can we ask?
partner, before we go to the SEA Games, maybe Roy can only discuss fast what is the scenario here in this picture.
Oh, that was LBC. Meron silang tournament dati, Liga LBC. That was a really nice league. It was the precursor as well with Liga GK. Uh, so sa LBC, mabit yung mga LBC people there. They were really nice. And so they brought together Gawad Kalinga sa amin sa Fair Play. May isa pa. This was what, 2013, 14.
Eh,
Um,
there's also Tondo. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think so. And they had like a league. So I think there were 4 or 5 teams in each age group. So we'd go to each community once per week. So it was a really, really nice idea. And it was one of the um, it was for that purpose. It wasn't just the win. It was to uh, get everyone to know each other. Um, so yeah, it was a nice league.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Nene there, she's a very, very nice person.
Wow. During the SEA Games, were you here or were you here in the country?
Which Sea Games? The last year?
The
Recent,
the
recent.
Yeah.
recent last December.
Yep,
Have you
I'm sure
been
you're.
watching the games
Yeah, yeah.
for both men and women, or you focus more on one?
I saw more of the women's games, but some of the men.
Okay, so that's good. So can you give your opinion on the performance of our Philippine national team?
Hmm.
It's up to you if you wanna be generic or go straight to, let's say, some of the issues are the coaching staff, the preparation. Those were the main things. So can we ask
Yeah, sure.
Coach Roy?
Yeah, well, you say preparation there, and it's a good point because kung kung lagi, it's the same problem every time is pag gusto mo yung isang buwan o dalawang buwan may training camp, tapos biglang wala ng budget, biglang cut ng budget mo. Anong pwedeng gawin mo as a coach? There's no preparation for that, and it's the same problem with that one. The first thing to say though is that, especially with the women's side of things, there was a lot of potential. Siyempre yung feeling pagkatapos ang SEA Games, yung feeling is ay sayang hindi nakamedal. Pero nakita mo diyan kaya nila sa taas ng ASEAN. They can play at the highest level of ASEAN and stay there. So Vietnam were better. I think it was 2-0 or 2-1 against Vietnam. And then the Myanmar game was 1-0 to the Philippines. Tapos malas na lang yung individual error, malas na lang yung nangyari para 2-1 sa Myanmar para sa bronze medal. The bronze medal match. So that's just unlucky. Coach Led is so respected in the women's team, and you can see she's trying to build something sustainable, a group that can train the next group, and she's trying to do that. So that's really, really good. The men's team, that's where I think more of the controversy comes. That's where I think you want more of the what I ranted about on Facebook and in some articles is it's the same problems every time. Pwede sabihin mo na ay malapit tayo sa semifinals. Pero pag meron kang stroke, meron kang amani, you're at home in every game, and you can't qualify from the group stage. We can't see that as a success. Meron tao na sinasabi, ay ito ang best showing natin sa SEA Games ever. Maybe, but that shows how bad it was before. Even in one of the previous SEA Games, I think we lost to Brunei in one of the games. So if you're saying that
Roy,
it was a draw
Roy,
with Laos, right? Yeah.
Roy, maybe I just want to ask, no, bluntly, if in your own view, what's
Mm.
really on your own opinion on that?
Yeah.
Do you think it's really that it's bad for us, or it's really on a good side, the results?
The results, you could say it was the best results the team could achieve. And yes, it was better than previous SEA Games. Pero syempre, gusto mo yung kung kita mo yung level ng ASCALs, halata ang gap. Halata ang gap ng pinaka-best ng 11 players sa Pilipinas at saka yung, normally yung under 23s. So halata ang gap ng ASCALs as a full team, as a full squad, and yung development ng younger age groups. The players will have given their best. The players tried, the coaches tried, pero kita natin yung ceiling ng sistema nito. It's not a problem of the coaches or the players or the training camp necessarily. It's the same problems of where are they going to get the players from, yung pool ng players, yung development ng players, yung gap ng sa younger age groups, pareho dito sa ibang region. It's the same kind of level in the region. But the under 23 team of Laos is about as good as the under 23 team of the Philippines. That shouldn't happen. The senior ASCALs destroy Laos. And then we see that massive drop to cannot qualify from the group stage. It's such a big, big drop in performance, in level. And that's where we say it's the big problem of the vision of Philippine football. It's not this one team. It's that this one team should be the top of a pyramid. It should be the top level where everything else funnels towards. Pero kung wala kang base, kung wala kang teams sa mga komunidad, wala kang base para mas magaling sila. So we see the problem of Philippine football right now is a column. It's a straight line. Yung best players as under 12s will be the best players in the ASCAs. It's a straight line. We do not have a base. We do not have a pyramid right now.
Yes, yes. Would you agree na one issue is the head coach of our ASCALs is a foreign coach who is just concerned of the result but not giving priority on a long term. Let's say development at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one big factor. If we keep getting foreign coach, then it's similar. Even if we have one good performance in one season, the next one it's similar. So in a long run, it's temporary. Would you agree on that?
In the long run, it's temporary, yes. I wouldn't say it's the coach's fault. The job of the head coach is to pick the best players he has available. So, sinong pinakamagaling yun ang kukuha niya.
Even on
Mm.
the selection of player, because I give
Mm.
options. Let's say a foreign coach will have to choose
Mm.
among these two. One Phil who grew up, let's say Germany,
Yep.
and one Filipino player who they have similar skill, everything. But this foreign coach would think that this half German is well exposed outside, so for sure this one can go better under my team.
Mm.
So the other player who's from the province will have
Yeah.
to go home. So would you agree on that choice as well?
If if the player is similar, then sure, that's hard to do. But I think most of the time, what we've seen is they pick the best players from who's available, or who they think is the best player from who's available. That's the job of the head coach, and the job of the head coach of the national team isn't to develop that base. That's not his job. That's
Yes,
PFF's job.
yes, yes.
His job is not to create the grassroots. His job is not to create the whole pool behind that. And
He's
I know that Dooley and some of the other coaches, they've given so many recommendations about we need to develop this, we need to develop that. There's been experts from around the world come to the Philippines and binigay nila yung mahabang documents about paano mag-develop talaga yung Philippine football ng ganon. They've not been listened to. The investment's not there. So honestly, the head coach should pick the best players. Whoever is available, whoever they think is the best player, the best performer, yun ang job ng national team coach.
Roy. Roy, so you're talking about our what the manager Dan Palami was telling us that the job of the head coach was really to choose whether it's a local player or a player based abroad
Yeah,
that coming here to play and represent our country. It doesn't matter as long
absolutely.
as we have to form the best team for our
Yeah,
national team.
yeah. For Dan Palami, for Scott Cooper, for Thomas Dooley, for everyone else, that's their job. Is the best 25 for the squad. Whoever is the best player, they can recommend, of course. Dapat ganito para sa magde-develop natin yung ibang players, yung mga ganon. And they've brought through, I mean, players like Amani Akineldo, Patrick Dato. There are individuals who have become part of the squad, which is good. But um, it would not be fair to say that in general the local players have been at a better standard. There are exceptions. Siyempre, si Chifi Caligdong dati and yung mga some of the emerging local players are at a good standard and hopefully they develop. But then how will they develop right now? Parang 5 or 6 teams lang sa competitive part. Paano sila magde-develop sa U22, U23 dito? Pagkatapos ang college, ano na. So by the time they're 26, 27, they hit the prime of a footballer's years. Siyempre, mas magaling ang players doon sa abroad kasi mas magaling ang mga leagues doon. Mas magaling ang mga facilities, mas mas stable ang finances nila, lahat ng ganun. The head coach should be picking the best players.
Partner, Roy, no, actually, I remember, no, you were talking about the facilities, a good competition,
Yeah.
but Chiefy was telling that the motivation he had when he was playing during that
Mm.
time in Ascas was really pushing himself to the limit. I mean,
Yep.
he was really asking the foreigners, no, and they were
Mm.
you were talking to them, and then he was really engaging to the training session, no, and pushing himself to the limit. That's why he was able to come into the national team.
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
it's really more of the mental side that not only if we don't have that facility or the
Mm.
proper tournaments that we have, I think the opportunity given to you by the coach is really you really have to take advantage.
Yeah, that's a good example, and you want to be challenged to improve. It's a good example of how if things are easy, we don't get better. Kung madali ang ginagawa, hindi tayo mag-improve. Kung manalo ka lagi, hindi ka mag-improve. You stay at that level. It's when things are difficult, when we're challenged, that's when the brain is processed to learn. That's when it starts to develop to learn. And it's a good example because that's where we can see how we can now develop. Because we often think, okay, we need to get academies going then. We need to get these things going. But this is where we can learn from the other countries and how they developed. So if you go to England in the Premier League, for example, and you look at the best players to play um, within the Premier League, yes, they played in some professional clubs, but they only joined the professional clubs when they were 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. You look at Messi, he joined Barcelona, I think, at 12 years old, right? He was already one of the best players in the world for his age before he joined Barcelona. Barcelona, Manchester United, Ajax, the best academies will develop a player and polish a player, but they do not create the talent. So there's a really good article about how talent is created and where the talents come from. Doon sa England may isang club, tawag siyang Wolves and Boys Club. Doon galing ang Alan Shearer, yung best striker in the Premier League, the most goals at least. Forster, Bardsley, Carrick, Michael Carrick, galing siya doon. So maraming sinasabi, ay yung klase nila sa West Ham, Joe Cole, Ferdinand, Carrick, yung Rio Ferdinand, they develop because of the academy. But when you go before that, no, they develop because of their community team. They create the talent. The academies catch the talent in one community and
Yes,
bring it to the
yes.
academy. They do not create the talent. The
Mm.
academies are a good step, and we need those, but they do not create the talent. We need the areas that create the talent. There's a funny story about Eric Lamela when he was 7 years old. He was sold for a bag of footballs by his local club. So one of the academies nearby bought Eric Lamela as a 7 year old, just gave the local team a bag of footballs. You create the talent in these communities, making a space to play. Then the academies benefit. Then the academies benefit with the clubs, and then the clubs benefit the national team. If we don't have these community teams, we can't benefit the academies, we can't benefit the clubs, and we can't benefit the national team.
Yeah,
Wow. We
nice.
should get you as our technical director. Uh,
In fairness, there's some really good people in PFF and the organization, and they know this, they understand this. It's just they're not allowed to do it. It's what it comes down to. If you're not allowed to do the right thing, you can't do it. If you don't have the power to make a decision, there are lots of people in the Philippines, naintindihan nila yung paraan, naintindihan nila yung mga lessons ng iba, ng gano'n. Kahit sa PFF, yung kita nito dito, meron din ng tao doon na they understand what can be done and they understand the potential, but they're not being allowed to do it.
More. You already mentioned about the PFF, no? So maybe what's your observation based from a foreigner, based here in the
Hmm.
Philippines? So what is your observation? Um, uh, how can you relate it to what you've
Yeah.
learned in the England? Something that you can look up to or something you can compare on?
Siyempre sa England, mas malaki ang football doon. Mas malaki ang mga budgets, mas malaki ang situation doon sa football. So I think you have to compare football there with basketball here, not football to football para sa ganun. But you see it's very political. Alam natin na may away sa taas sa PFF. Alam natin may it's often more about the politics at the top than about the game. And hanggang ngayon, wala pa tayong vision, wala pa tayong idea about anong plano, anong vision para sa football natin. The good people that we talk about, the people who get it, they're not allowed to make the decision of which teams join which tournaments because there are people there who make the uh, the decisions for them. I've been persona non grata at PFF for quite some time now. Siyempre, ayaw nila may foreigner na mag-critical about sa kanila. Um, May sinasabi namin dahil gusto natin mag-improve talaga ang Philippine football. It's not because we want to bring it down. Kahit sa Liga, kahit sa PFL, we don't want to bring the league down or Philippine football down. It's the opposite. We know that this isn't the way to grow it. You need to go slower sometimes. Make sure you go in the right direction, and then you can go faster further. Um, right now, we have not heard anything about the plan for development of the game, and that's the frustrating part. Is it's the same problem every year. The same problems at the SEA Games. Every time it's the same problems with the youth teams. Every time it's the same problem with futsal teams. Every time, and that's the frustrating part. You can understand these problems, understand these mistakes. You want someone to own up and say, "Sorry, I made a mistake. Here's how we're going to improve it," and then do it better next time. It won't be perfect, but just do it better next time. And you know, that's the hard part is seeing all this potential, all this possibility, and it being hitting this ceiling without that development.
Wow. Ang galing. Ah,
Dinugo ka ba, partner? Dinugo ka?
hindi, naluha ako. All the sharings are really parang ano, nakaka-relate ako because even me, Coach Roy, here in Cordillera, me and the other coaches are really struggling and putting up tournaments on our own.
Yeah.
We're not actually active with the association, but we're doing it with our own community-based, school-based club system. So I think ang daming lesson doon, ano? I hope yung PFF won't take it as ano, pero it's for us to learn from it. Hindi
Partner,
lang yung
partner, are you talking about that in your area also there's politics?
anywhere there is politics, yeah. Uh, why? Uh, Coach Roy, kasi na-mention yung politics and you're taking up political science
Yes.
in UP?
Yes, correct.
So you're really learning how the politics in the country and other ano. Can you give your can you share also on the politics side, not in football, or if you want it in football,
Yes,
what's happening now in the country?
because he mentioned a while ago, Coach Aris, the politics up there, di ba? So,
Maybe just give your
your
opinion. Is it like a cultural thing? Is it like a poison, or can you give your opinion?
it's like
Good, bad?
it's like Medusa when you look into the eye and then you will turn into a stone.
So um, the first thing to accept, of course, is that as a foreigner, there are legal things. I can't get involved with certain aspects of politics. It gets very dangerous with that.
Yeah.
What we can say in terms of, for example, sa Payatas FC, yung experience namin is, kung kasama mo sa isang politician, yung ibang mga politicians, ayaw nila sa'yo. There's like, if you get support from one person in government, the others are against you because you're with that person. So it gets very, very personal with that one. So hindi yung isip is anong best para sa komunidad natin. It's anong kampe mo. So that was tricky. And so for those who you mentioned before about anong ideas para sa ibang mga groups is the best thing for our sports was pag may sariling court. Kasi pag may sariling space, malaya kami sa politics, malaya kami sa ganun. We were free now to do things as we wanted to without needing to talk to the barangay about the use of the court even. Just that. That in itself is difficult. Alam mo, pag may bagong barangay captain, yung mga program ng dating barangay captain, gusto nila
Yes,
itin
yes.
lahat. Actually, pag darating yung bagong captain, lahat ng mga computers, lahat ng mga papel, lahat na nasa office, nawala na. So pag pumasok sila, literally nothing but an empty room. And that's what it's like. That's how petty things can be with that one. The lockdown, I think, is a good example of pagkita natin sa mga bansa sa buong mundo is pag mas maayos ang mga leaders, mas maayos ang lockdown, mas maayos ang response sa COVID. It's so clearly correlated na kung mas maganda, kung mas magaling ang leader, mas maganda ang situation natin. Ganun.
So how do you describe our lockdown? Super lockdown?
It's the longest lockdown in the world. And sayang naman wala pang idea sa medical solutions, no? This is a medical problem and you want medical solutions. This is not a military problem. We do not need military solutions for that. So yeah, it's a very difficult situation for everyone. Sa amin dito sa Payatas, kalating taon na hindi pwede magtrabaho ang mga tao. Ano mangyayari? Nagugutom sila. Anong gagawin nila? Siyempre, mas maraming nakaw, mas maraming ibenta ng sarili, mas maraming problema. They
So
can't.
did you secure your laptop already?
Or
Yeah.
are you ready to give it away as well?
Hey, I got it back last time.
Anyway, Roy, we always ask our guests, no? This is the second question
Mhm,
before we end. Um, Irregardless of the COVID, no?
mhm.
Most of our guests are having that wish
Yep.
relating to COVID that it will be taken out already and we go back to the normal.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe you can share to the Football Life viewers what is your wish,
Mm.
whether it's in football, in love life, or life
Uh,
you wanted to share.
engagement.
Sa football, yung wish is meron ng plano, meron ng vision para sa 10 years, 20 years from now. Paano talaga mag-develop? Matutunan natin sa Japan, sa Australia, sa USA. Yung mga bansa na hindi top 1 ang football doon, pero nagde-develop sila. We can learn from this. It's not impossible. That's the first thing is that we have that long-term plan, this long-term vision for the communities. That we finally understand that the communities is where we develop any sport. Kahit anong sport, it's doon sa mga communities. So yeah, it's related to the issue of leadership kanina is kung mas maganda ang leadership, mas maganda ang mga programa, mas maganda ang lahat. Leadership is so important. There's a really good book by Jim Collins, Good to Great and Built to Last. Talks about it in business. Is that the leadership, the level 5 leadership, is crucial to the long-term success of any organization, and you want to see that develop here. Outside of that, para sa payatas namin, it's really para tuloy natin yung ginagawa para yung mga scholars natin, pwede sila mag-mentor yung iba pa yung cycle of development. They're doing so well. Siyempre, gusto namin maglaro pa. Everyone's getting frustrated and needing to play.
Are you not
aside from
Coach,
COVID. Hmm.
are you not the owner of your playing venue? Is that a lot you own?
Yes, yes, it's a
So
lot we own,
okay, okay.
Is it
pero
the
But
bawal
is
you're
it
pa
not
ang
allowed. Bawal pa ano?
is
yeah,
it the
bawal pa ang
foundation?
team sports. Hmm?
Is it the foundation who owns the lot?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, it took a while, but it's such a big step for any community. Make sure you have your own space to play. So halimbawa, kung gusto natin yung successful grassroots program is, sige, meron ng kasibulan dati na punta sa ibang-ibang lugar na introduce football. Good. So now, we need that step where meron ng space na pwede maglaro. Actually, yung FIFA sa ibang grants, maraming grants para sa lugar na maglaro. Kung meron kang lupa, pwede yung gagawin para sa may futsal court or mga ganon. Now imagine that every community team who already plays, Tondo, Gawit Kalinga, Dream Big, Western Bikutan. Imagine na meron silang sariling space na pwede maglaro. That's 1,000 more kids playing. Sa Kasibulan, pagpunta kayo sa ibang lugar, kung naiwan ang futsal court, that's thousands and thousands of kids more playing. Not just once, but every day they will play. Now we can develop the talents, the clubs, they feed into everything else. So I didn't play futsal as a kid very much. Meron kaming five-a-side doon sa England. Pero yung focus dati is more 11-a-side sa England. Dito na lang natutunan namin dahil sa context, dahil sa situation dito. Oh, kung merong futsal courts sa mga komunidad, everything else will follow 10 to 20 years from now.
Yes. All right. Partner,
Wow. Siguro ano?
what we learned from Roy is really something that we really have to check again as mentors, no? As
Hmm.
Pero Coach Roy, yung wedding mo, hindi mo na mention sa wish. Medyo ano?
It's
Wala pa
COVID.
ba?
We can't do gatherings.
when do you plan, Roy?
Ah,
Is it next year, early next year, or midway?
possibly, yes. Possibly. It depends on bawal pa ang gatherings, bawal pa ang mga ganon. So, syempre, yung mga familia ko doon sa England, kailangan sila punta, di ba? So, it depends on all the travel and di namin alam.
So as of the moment, standby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Coach Roy,
Coaching ay.
coaching. Yeah, the coaching eye. So
Ah,
we have to remind again our football viewers, football live viewers, and Roy to remember and guess who is these two persons that have a look-alike or kahawig with Roy Moore. Yes. So again, the first clue, international for me, for my guess,
is that Philippine international?
foreign,
Ah,
foreign international. And then he's an actor. And the third clue, oh, the Football Life viewers, try to guess, or you have a discount with Decathlon Alabang. Okay.
do I get a discount as well?
Yes, if you get it,
Yes.
yes, if you get it, you get a discount. And don't forget to like their page, Football with Decathlon. Okay, so
Yes.
you will get those feedbacks there. So the third clue, in my guess, is a comedian.
Yun. Sa akin naman,
Yun.
on my coaching eye na I think Kwentong a look-alike ni Coach Roy is international coach manager sa Liverpool.
Ah,
Partner, don't give that clue already. That's very easy. Come on, you should have,
Eh,
that one's done.
you should have told
difficult.
you should have told Roy that it's color red. Di ba? Like
Okay.
it's color
I'm
red.
I
Lemon.
I'm so excited because I'm always winning when it comes to look-alike.
No, you're not winning. You're always losing to me. That's why you're giving the
So, to our viewers, you can guess, ha? So, you have two. Kailangan dalawa yung i-guess nyo. One coming from me and Coach Mike. So, for Coach Mike, comedian, actor, Hollywood. For me, football manager, maybe Liverpool.
Maybe.
now you put maybe, huh?
You know, it's very offensive to say that an Englishman looks like a German.
Okay. So,
Now you have it. Okay. Oh, if you guess already, Coach Aris. Oh, you want to guess Coach Aris?
So hopefully this is Klopp.
Okay, so you got it
yes.
right. All right.
Good.
So
Uh,
let's see who in the football life have made a guess. But you have to
Araceli Socorro.
made a good guess. Oh yeah, Araceli Socorro got it right.
Yes, because
Oh,
of the beard.
because of the beard, yes. So Araceli,
Sounds lovely. Sounds nice.
hi,
Unfortunately, she does
hi,
support Liverpool. So
hi
yeah.
Araceli. I hope you remember Coach Mike. You just messaged me. I give you the code,
Mm.
and and then this one also. You have to guess this one, Roy. Aside
Right.
from international comedian, okay,
So not international player, not international footballer.
no, it's an
So you're.
actor. I'm talking.
I
He's an
think I know who
actor.
you. Yeah, I think I
He's
know who you mean
he's
now.
an actor. Okay, because you should be telling the color. I will give you a clue. Green.
I think yeah.
Yes.
So can I tell a story about this?
Okay, go ahead.
So my second year at university, I was in Singapore. I did a gap, not a gap year, an
Oh,
exchange
wait,
program.
Roy. Before you continue again, viewers, you got Coach Aris got it right already. So maybe the other one you can guess as well before Roy
Finishes
mentioned
the
it.
story.
Yeah, so you can guess now. So you can get the discount from Decathlon Alabang. Okay, go. Continue, Coach.
So, doon sa NUS, National University of Singapore, maganda ang canteens nila doon. Meron silang fruit juice stall. So, pumunta ako doon, kasama yung friend ko. He was buying something at the juice stall, and I just came up behind him and started to talk to my friend. The woman behind the counter, so parang 30, 40 years old, na Chinese, na halatang thick Chinese accent, na, "Hey, you look like Jim Carrey." I just, it's like, sorry. Yeah, so I had that a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah.
yes.
So so I think it's only Araceli who can get it, and you, of course, you
yeah.
you got it right. So we will give it to you.
Nice. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's another guest from the viewers. Si Mario Farcon, Robin Williams, and Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
But the Robin Williams, uh, it's close, but Jim Carrey is the correct answer.
That's of course without the beard, with the haircut, and
Yes,
it was the
yes.
smile that was most similar. There we go.
Oh,
Nice.
see, that's the.
There. So
It was when I used to smile a lot like Jim Carrey.
so because Araceli is a Liverpool fan, that's why she knows. And then she was mentioning if you choose Chelsea, she doesn't know you anymore.
Yeah,
Okay,
fair enough.
All right?
Coach Roy, uh, what is football for you?
Football is a game. Ultimately, football is a game. It's something to play and something to enjoy. And in that sense, it's a tool. What matters most is how we use that tool. So minsan may sinasabi na, ay, football will change your life. It's not football that changes our life. It's the relationships in the game that changes our life. A bad coach will do bad things. A good coach can change that. And football is therefore that opportunity to develop something not just on the pitch, pero yung laro off the field.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow,
Galing.
that's really inspirational, no, Roy? So,
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Coach Roy, thank you very much. It's a good one of the best podcasts. You're one of the best among the best guests.
You say that to
So
everyone.
no, no, no. If you
Joking,
try
I'm
to
joking.
watch the others, we're just laughing. But with
Okay.
you, we are really learning a lot.
Kailangan makinig talaga sa English para hindi dugong ilong, no?
yes,
Yeah.
we are really listening,
Mas
no?
seryoso
Actually,
kasi.
we're just listening. Later on, we'll review and process everything.
Thanks so much, Coach Aris, Coach Mike. It's been a
Yes.
pleasure.
So,
Thank you, guys.
Coach Roy,
Coach Roy, maybe you
uh,
can have something to say to our viewers as well before we
yeah.
do the sum up, because they're still here. Maybe you have
Mhm.
something to share before we let you go before our sum up.
Um, I'm not sure now. Just parang mahirapan tayo lahat sa situation nito. Pero if we slow down, kung ayos ang gawin natin, kung tama ang paraan natin, there are there are still so many opportunities and so much potential, not just in football, of course, in football, but in everything else we do. So, yeah, please, if anyone is interested in supporting Fair Play, please check our website, fairplayforall.org, about not just fair play and the sports, but everything else we do as well with education and how the kids are growing. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, and it's really one small step at a time. I can't tell you how many frustrations and challenges and mistakes I've made along the way. It's really about trying your best and being genuine about it. And if we build the right leaders, then we build the right culture.
All right,
Wow.
very well said, Coach
Yeah.
Roy.
Thank you, Coach Roy, and we
Pleasure, guys.
hope to invite you again soon. Maybe with your project, you just have to continue what you're doing. And can you say something to your fiance? Maybe
Just over there.
I love you, or
I'll
Yes,
say it to her later.
uh, you want to share like
Oh,
I,
that's private. That's personal.
but are you sure? How many fiancés do you have?
Right now, just the one.
Okay, okay.
so maybe tomorrow you have to. No, I'm
Ah,
just kidding.
so, Coach Roy, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And we really appreciate your time and all the knowledge that you've been sharing, not only now, but for the previous,
For the future
you
as well.
continue what you're doing, for being proactive, for being critical in your Facebook articles, and for what you're doing with Payatas and for Philippine football, for really setting up for everyone. So I hope you're okay, and hope to see you with your barong and is it tuxedo? Do you want to wear
Uh, or
formal
you
during your wedding,
or you
or
want to wear like a jersey, like
Yeah,
a
Payatas FC jersey.
yeah, Payatas
yes?
jersey, and
I'll
then
need permission for that.
yeah. So again,
Pleasure, guys.
Coach Roy, it's a pleasure to have you in our show in Football Life and sharing with our football community the experiences and tips on how to build a community out of
Mhm.
from your own perspective and your concept of learning in football. All right. So
Thank you very much.
kudos,
Thank
and
you.
thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you, coaches. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yes, congrats. Thank you. Grabe.
Grabe.
Pwede nang
Yeah.
tanggalin yung tissue. Hindi nila nakikita, andito nakasalat eh. I want to greet Sir Orale, President of Cebu FA, coming from Coach Aris. Ako yun, lahat ng Coach Aris. And
Yun.
all the FA officers who are following our football life.
O yan,
So,
dito. Babati
Binabati ko
babatiin ko rin dito partner sa Coach Mike TV, yung mga humahabol sa atin, no? Yung laging followers natin, si John Punsalan. Okay, of course, yung mother ko, si Socorro Agbayani. Laging nakanonood yan. Tapos si Coach Pusok, no? From Mindanao. Okay, and then, yan, si Araceli Socorro, kapangalan ni Mama. And then si Marion Farcon, nice try po, sir. No, sayang, naunahan po kayo ni Ma'am Araceli. And then, partner, humabol din dyan kanina si nanonood yung mga ibang coaches natin, no? So, ngayon,
Yes.
magbigay na tayo ng sum up.
Oo.
Okay,
Ako
so,
muna? Ikaw?
sige, ikaw na mauna.
Ako muna. So, we'll do a summing up with Coach Roy Moore, the founder and head of Payatas Football Foundation, and other projects na ginawa niya, ano? So, yung mga i-highlight ko dito.
Partner, bago ka mag-start, okay, kasi baka magtampo yung matanda. Joel Villarino, humabol.
Yun. Coach Jokax.
Coach
Baka
Jokax,
napanood na lahat ng ano.
baka kakapanood mo ng 24 carats, coach, ha? Hindi mo na kami napapanood, ha? So, good job sa car wash mo, ha? So, Jokax Car Wash. So, humabol din pala dyan si Rodney Orale. Yan. So, partner, sige, tuloy mo na.
Yes. So, again, yung gusto kong i-highlight, yung sinabi niya, start small. So, I think yun din yung ginawa niya. Nagsimula siya sa pagbuo ng futsal team. Di ba? Although, ang dami niyang plano siguro. So, for the coaches, simulan nyo lang. Magbuo kayo ng isang team. If you have a team already, then i-maintain nyo. And then, yung holistic, in community foundation. So holistic meaning hindi lang sa football yung focus natin. Outside the court, outside the pitch, kailangan coach pa rin tayo doon or involved tayo doon. Parang ganun yung punto niya. And then yung gusto kong i-highlight yung regarding sa written contract. It's good na meron tayong written contract. Well, for small area, yung contract na yon, it means yung parang membership sa club, naka-indicate doon, yung parang parents waiver. Well, kung school-based ka man, andun yung parents waiver, naka-indicate yung parang agreement nyo, contract, di ba? To avoid issues. So, yung contract, kung 1 year man yan, ilagay nyo doon, yung mga ganon. So, that goes with the club, yung issue na nangyari, yung sharing ni Coach Marjo and other players, si Misa, yung mga ganon, na sana para maiwasan natin, we're moving. So that yung mga lessons before, hindi siya iikot, hindi natin, so lesson sa atin lahat yon. Yung another one is yung 20 years development program for kids. Anong ibig sabihin nito? So if we are really looking into science, kasi yun naman yung sinusunod natin, yung scientific approach. So according to research, na kung gusto talaga natin na ma-improve yung national team natin, kailangan yung foundation sa baba matibay. Matibay talaga. So yung introduction, dapat wala tayong limitation. Kung football, yes. Kung futsal, yes din. Kung beach football, yes din. So, walang pipiliin na, ay, football lang, sa grass lang. No. Ay, kami, futsal lang. No. So, kung baga, flexible tayo.
Yeah.
Yung philosophy na natin na dynamic football, it applies doon sa approach natin siguro, sa grassroots, sa youth, hanggang sa taas. Kasi yun nga, tinitira natin sa taas kasi medyo may sarili silang approach, pero 'di ba, we have to do this in a more scientific approach. Kaya nga itong research na 20 years development, I think kunento niya doon, medyo ayaw niya rin pero I think yun yung pinupunto niya.
Yes.
Tapos yung futsal is the key kasi nga ang daming court. Pero yun, naging issue nga niya kasi basketball pa rin yung priority. Boys doon, ang ginawa niya, bumili sila ng sarili nilang area. So
Area.
doon na yung training area nila. Well, for us coaches sa provinces na wala naman tayong funding, you can just make schedules doon sa barangay basketball court, di ba? Doon sa field, yung community kasi kung may field, ano yan, concert area, di ba? Park yan. So, we find ways para maka-training yung team natin, okay? So, I think yon Coach Mike, ituloy mo.
Okay. So, in-emphasize din dito ni Coach Roy yung regarding sa community-based program, no? Like ano yung ginagawa nila ngayon sa Payatas na ina-highlight niya na tinuturuan yung mismong community no kung papaano magturo dun sa mga nakababata nilang teammates, kung papaano nila ipasa yung knowledge not only in football but also in education, no? Meron silang cycle kung tawagin na ina-emphasize nila yung pagturo sa mga players nila. At the same time, doon din nakakakuha ng katulong si Coach Roy, no? Yung mga nakakasama niya mga bata, yung mga older players kasi siyempre sa community nila sa Payatas, doon nila makukuha yung trust at saka yung relationship na makuha nila doon sa mismong community. Siyempre, merong mga mismong taga-Payatas na involved na nagtuturo doon sa mga bata at sa mga players on how to play football. It's very important na yung passing of the torch kung tawagin, no? Kasi sabi nga ni Coach Roy kanina, napakahirap sa kanya mag-English, mag-Tagalog. Kaya kailangan niya matuto na mag-Tagalog para matutunan at makapagbigay siya ng mas maraming knowledge dun sa mga tinuturuan niya ng football, no? Importante 'yon kasi partner, doon niya makukuha yung puso ng mga magulang the moment nakita nila na itong coach na nagbibigay ng oras sa community nila is talagang nagbibigay ng oras at hindi yung meron tinatawag na hocus pocus, di ba? Yung nabanggit nga, walang hidden agenda. The main objective of Coach Roy is just to share, build up the community, and expand football in the communities of Payatas. And ang maganda doon, siyempre maturuan yung mga bata on how to play the game, get some get something out of football at makakuha sila ng scholarship eventually in the future. Pero sabi nga niya, hindi naman lahat makakakuha ng scholarship, hindi naman lahat makakapasok sa national team, pero at least yung learning at yung knowledge magiging part ng education eh ma-impart nila dun sa mga players. Very important 'yan, okay? Tapos ito yung hina-highlight din niya 'no, you have to slow down to go fast, 'no? It's a constant process. So maganda 'yon 'no. I think I was able to think and ponder on that na kailangan muna nating maghinay-hinay, siguro mag-isip-isip muna para makita natin kung ano yung mga kakulangan natin. And then, there we go. Move forward and go fast. So, itong pandemya, kung ano yung nangyayari
Yun
ngayon,
lang.
we are able to slow down, okay? Slow down in our pace, get in touch with the community, with our family, and then also learn from the mistakes that we have committed. So, this is one thing that also me and Coach Aris was able to get the catch on, no? Pagdating dun sa
Natuto ka ba sa problema mo?
siyempre naman.
Nag-connect ka sa mga parents mo?
Siyempre naman. So, importante yan, ha? So, yan. So, this one also, ine-emphasize din ni Coach Roy, is look at in a balanced way. No? Coach the kids and not the sport. No? Yan yung very important. Siguro kasi nga, uh, we are able to educate properly not only the parents, but the coaches. Not winning is not everything. No? Kasi ang gusto natin lagi manalo eh. To the point that we are already rushing or pushing our players to a certain extent na nasisigawan na natin sila, nasasabihan natin sila na hindi magaganda at they take it negatively. Na ang nangyayari is pwede yun yung ikaalis niya sa sport, ikalis niya sa football. So yun yung hindi maganda, which is nangyayari din also sa ibang countries. Ah, sa survey which happened sa US na in the latter part ng mga second year or mga grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, nawawala yung players because they were not treated well. So ito yung importanteng matutunan natin mga coaches on how to treat the players properly during a training and during a game. Alright? So, ang maganda rin doon, no, siguro para maka-identify tayo ng talent. So, 1 in a million talent, you need a million players. So, mapapaisip tayo, 100 million yung population natin. Pero, ilan ba tayo? Paano tayo maka-develop ng another Chief Caligdong? Di ba? Another Elmer Bedia. Di ba? Another, sino pa ba? Mga Phil husband na pwede nating masabing nade-develop natin as players na makatulong dito sa Philippines. Pero kasi si Phil galing sa England, di ba? So yung locally made natin, importante yun nga, paramihin yung base ng football. Okay? So 1 in a million talent, you need a million players and that in that aspect we need to develop and strengthen our grassroots program. Very important to develop the base. Okay, what we're doing in Kasibulan, I think we need to continue that. And then the moment we are able to introduce that to the Kasibulan program, and then ipasok natin yung community-based program natin, which is doing in
And I think yung ano,
in Payatas and in Tondo, and also
yes.
in Western Bikutan and other areas as well.
I would like to highlight yung ganun ano. Maganda yung if we really want 1 in a million talent, we need 1 million players. So ito yun no, formula na yun. Yung tinuturo nga natin na ganyan. So itong grassroots base natin na foundation dapat
Tuloy-tuloy.
community based,
Yes, yes.
'di
Hindi,
ba?
actually partner, sabi nga niya, grassroots muna. The moment they're introduced to the grassroots program, and then yung community base mismo is strengthen na yung nandoon sa mga community, yung naturuan na yon. Kumbaga, kung na-involve to, kuwari, Sitio Las Piñas, dito sa Las Piñas area, sa CAA, sa amin, yung mga nakasali doon sa grassroots program, siguro i-cater na ng community ng Las Piñas. Yung mga ganong aspect na nakakoncentrate na within the community.
Yes, yes, yes. So, yun ano, ang galing. Isa na namang sharing na maganda. And I would like also to mention yung ginagawa ni Coach Ake sa Mentoring 101. So, sumulpot na rin yung ganun na mga coaching groups. Kasama ka rin doon, Coach Mike, di ba? Ako, sumali na rin doon. So, yung mga former grassroots, nagkamustahan na rin. So, maganda yung ganito. And then, syempre, with Coach Aris, Coach Belay, and the other coaches,
Coach Maro,
kahapon,
Coach Maro,
nagkwentuhan kami with the senior coaches, yung elite coaches natin. So, pinag-usapan na natin, kung baga, lulutuhin na yung football philosophy, ano? So, ang gustong gawin ni mentor is really galing sa atin. So, kung baga, andyan na yung drawing, pero kailangan anuhin pa natin yung football philosophy. Well, ang vision naman natin is very obvious. Gusto natin lahat maglaro sa World Cup. Di ba? In order to do that, kailangan tayo nag-uusap, nagtutulungan. Di ba? Lahat, ganun yung objective natin. And
okay.
other podcasts, yung mga other social media groups na nag-uusap, di ba? So ito na yon yung slow down to move faster na minention ni
Yes.
Coach Roy, di ba? So hindi naman natin magawa hindi natin ito magawa kung tuloy-tuloy walang pandemya, di ba? So nangyari ito lalong the more na nag-iisip tayo, nagre-reflect, the more na tinitingnan natin medyo may kulang pala ganito. So kung ba lumabas tayo sa box, 'di
Actually,
ba?
partner, no, ang kinagandahan dito sa podcast, no, mapapansin natin yung ideas din nitong mga viewers natin, no, yung mga actively na nag-share ng mga comments nila, ng mga questions nila, so they are getting involved, no. That's very important also in this podcast with Football Life. We are trying to share and they are trying to share as well, no. So nag-reach out din tayo dun sa fans ng football, no. Itong mga football
Yes.
fans natin. Oh, hindi namin fans, but the football fans per se, na ma-educate sila at makapag-share sila on how important is football life or how important is football, no, in our country. So, so again, sa lahat ng mga nanonood ng football life, huwag
May
kalimutan,
mga may mga pumasok, i-greet mo, pero yung sa akin, pumasok yung kapatid ko. So ito ano,
yun
si
oh,
Junior Ramon Bukalan, Junior. So
bigay ba,
kumusta, bro?
bigay ba yan?
Merong
Bigay?
binigyan niya ako, may
Eh,
pambike na ako.
paano yun nandito? Yung sa akin, anak, sinasabi ko sa iyo eh.
Hindi nga dumarating yung mga bigay ng ano eh. Sinasalo mo eh, di ba?
Nandito
So,
lang. Nandito.
i-greet mo yung mga pumasok na late
Oo. Andito,
sa football life
Nandito,
natin.
nandito si umahabol, no? Sabi nga ni Sir Rodney Orale, CVFA, let us develop futsal. Yes, we agree, sir. Sabi nga dito kanina, hindi lang football ang develop, lahat. No, pero ang tanong lang kasi dito, which part of the pie? Gaano kalaki dun sa pie? Diba? Pero dapat tayo in our own way, kung ano yung possible na i-run natin sa area natin, yun yung i-take advantage natin. Yes? So,
Yun.
nandiyan din pala sabi nga, si Ramon Bukalan. Ayan, babatiin ko na, Junior. So, salamat bro. Hehe. Kuya Ramon, wala bang kapatid dito sa Manila, sa Las Piñas? Pwede rin, ha? Yan. So, sa lahat po na nanonood ng Football Life, continue to support Football Life. And huwag niyo pong kalimutan, ha, yung Decathlon na partner natin, yung sa Alabang, i-like nyo yung page nila, yung Football with Decathlon. So makikita nyo rin yung mga videos natin dyan, saka yung mga updates when it comes to discount, and yung mga bagong products na meron ang Decathlon Alabang. Alright? So again, partner, good night, and thank you, Football Live,
Yes. Sa women's tayo on bukas ba yun?
tomorrow.
Coach Mariel, tomorrow! See you tomorrow. Women's program naman tayo.
Okay, so again, Football Life, Kwentong Football, at
Kwentong
Buhay!
Buhay!